Hello. I think there's something up with this particular the curse of moving. Everything seems small for ages. Yeah, that could be it. That could that's probably a thing, especially since cuz like this isn't a small desk either. This is like a 2 meter wide desk. This is a hunky boy. But I think I might already know the reason why. I think the reason why is going to be really silly, and it's the fact that maybe I am just too far to the right of this desk for like positionals and what have you. And what I probably need to do because of like, the placement of what I probably need to do is I just need to shift the oh, this is going to be so annoying as well because I've already set up like my two monitors, one stacked over the other for this. But I probably need to like shift a lot of stuff to the left, except for like the actual like PC. Like that's probably what I need to do is just shift things. Also, smaller speakers. Like I understand, like I'm a big Zeebs. I like big things. Don't get me wrong. Like I am very much all a fan for that. But I don't need as big of a speakers as I have right now. Also, I can't move to the right now. I still because I still need to move my this is the problem. Is like I'm now in that circumstantial. Also, I'm not looking straight either. Hang on a second. There we go. All right. So, kind of. Unless, what if I do this? What if I look, like, further down? There we go. There we go. So, yeah. So yeah, like, it has been a long month, let me tell you. When was the last time I streamed as well? Also, do I have, like, no reception? No, I have reception. Okay, cool. Thank goodness. I was worried for a second that I had, like, no reception, but, I do, so... That would have been really bad if I was like, one of my... Because I'll be real with you, the office is probably going to be one of my favorite places every time I move. Every time I, like, go to, I get a new apartment or anything like that, it's still going to be the office because that's where the PC is and what have you. Any whoosies. So yeah, I have not fully finished unpacking. Holy shit, do I have stories to tell you, chat? Do I have stories to tell you about all the... Hi there, Crafty Grant! Hello, imposter. I am the Major Grant. I don't know why you get to be Crafty Grant. Also, hi there, Masonic. Welcome, welcome. Also, thank you, Tan Mugs, for being first. I greatly appreciate it. But yeah, like, there's still gonna be some teething problems, because I'm not finished, unpacking, essentially. So, like, there's still, like, boxes all over the place. So, oh, hang on. I need a... So yeah, there's still boxes, like, all over the place. It's because I make everything. But yeah, so, how do I want to start this? Also, I need to go into, like, my Zebra streaming channel, just in case Belk wants to join in or what have you, or anyone else. But yeah, so, essentially... as some of you were aware, I was needing to move out of the place that I was living at the time. I've lived there for like the last 4 years. It was a lovely apartment. 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. One of the bathrooms was en suite. Carpeted floors, decent sized bedroom for like, for the main bedroom and then the second bedroom. It was really lovely. When I first moved into it in 2022, it was like $420 or something like that. So it was a little bit 4 more years. I wish. But nah, it was... so yeah, so I was in this apartment for like, like when I first got into it in 2024. Sorry, I'm just going to fiddle with like this remote that's in my hand. So then that way I don't like, try and scratch at a scab or anything like that that's on my ankle. So yeah, I got into this place in like February 2022, and it was like $420 a week. It was really good. And then I think it was April or July, it was written in the lease agreement of like, hey, the rent's going to increase by $430 because you're cutting in on like a break lease. And I was like, oh, okay, true, I guess. And then the year after, it increased to $440. So it's like, at this point, with what I was earning and I still had uni debt to pay off at the time, $440 was a good chunk of change, like, a week for me. Hi there, Goldie. So yeah, so come 2024, I've now been in this place for like 2 years, and I had already like, I drilled some holes in the ceiling to hold VR lighthouses. I've put nails into the walls to hang up paintings and, like, framed stuff. So, like, I was starting to, like, live in this place. Like, I even had, like, an Ethernet port installed at my expense. The owner of the property was totally fine with that thing. But yeah, so, 2 years into this place, after all these little edits, they're like, hi there, would you like to extend your lease for a year? Do be in mind that when you extend this lease for a year, we are going to increase the rate from $440 a week to $485 a week. Okay, that is a dramatic increase. I don't recall, like, being a terrible tenant or anything like that. What's the, also thank you, 10 Mucks, for being my biggest fan. Oh wait, no, Goldie's my biggest fan. Thank you, Goldie, for being my biggest fan. But, where's my brain at? So, also, hi there, Shuto. So yeah, so they increased the rent from, like, $440, which is already, like, a little bit of a high percentage, to $485, which is a big amount. Like, that was, because normally, like, if you're in an existing lease and such like that, normally they only increase it by, like, $10 or so, just because of, like, inflation or some shit. But because of the RBA rates going, like, increasing, like, almost month by month in 2024, they were just like, oh, hey, we're going to increase it to, like, $45, which was, like, 10% of, like, they just increased the rent by 10%, which was kind of ridiculous. And so, in order to try and get ahead of that, I asked them if, like, oh, hey, what if I wanted to do 2 years extension? Because, like, I was in the thought of, like, they're giving me this notice, like, a week before the RBA is meant to do their reporting of, like, are they going to increase the interest rate? Are they going to decrease it? Or are they going to keep it the same? And so, when it happened, 55% bimbo, nice work. So when it happened, that's an extra $180 a month. That's crazy. Yeah, good work on the quick math there, Mango Root Beer. But yeah, so with, like, a week before the RBA, does anyone play Deadlock? I want to play. I'm telling you something, Wild Saber. Why you gotta highlight shit? Any whoosies. So like, I asked them of, like, hey, what if I did a 2-year lease? Is there, like, what's the increase going to be like then? And they were like, let me get back to the owner. And then, like, a couple hours later or the next day or something like that, they were like, all right, the owner is fine with you going for a 2-year lease. They still want to do the rental increase from $440 to $485 in 2024, and they want to do a rental increase from $45 to $510 in 2025. And I was like, I'm gonna have to take it, because, like, it's November, the rates are increasing. I didn't want to start looking for a place to live after I've just drilled, like, holes in the ceiling and it was, like, 4 months before I had to, like, look for a new place if that was the case. And so, and, like, with the mixture of, like, traveling to the state, like, Christmas holidays and what have you, because I'm pretty sure in 2024 I was also traveling to the state. Yeah, I was traveling to the States in 2024. So yeah, so I went for the rental increase then, and, I was in this place for, like, another 2 years. The rent, when it got up to, like, $510 a week, my job did not increase in, like, pay very much. So because I was kind of hoping that, like, if I demonstrated my worth to the company, there would be, like, decent amount of, like, pay increases or maybe even a job promotion. But while there was some pay increases, there was not a job promotion. So it was enough to be like, oh, like, lo and behold, after all the pay increases I got, I would have now have been in a more comfortable position, putting in, like, $420 a week with my, or $440 a week with my current income, because then that would have been less than, like, 35% of my take-home pay. But 510 a week, that's still like 40% of my take-home pay. That's too much. So then, November rolls by. I didn't hear a word from them, but I'm like kind of, looking around, idly of like, oh, what's the market like and what have you. And some places were like, pretty expensive because getting homes in Australia fucking sucks. Like there is no 2 cents about it. It sucks. Everyone that like is in Australia that hears it is like, yeah, we agree. And unfortunately, like the people that would probably have the biggest cut in in needing to allow it so other people have a chance to live do not want to accept that kind of loss on their property or shit. So, but yeah, lo and behold, at the end of 2025, end of 2025, just before I go onto the cruise, they're like, hey, do you want to go on a year extension? Do you want to increase your lease by a year? Please be advised that you're going to go from 510 a week to $650 a week. Turns out they sold my I knew they sold my apartment. They gave me an offer that was like, oh, do you want to, put an offer in? And I was like, okay, what are you looking for? And they're like, oh, we're looking for someone who can do at least 550K a offer. I can't even borrow 400K. It was a ridiculous price is what it was. So when they were like, hey, do you want to, be on for another year and increase the rent to 650? I was like, nope, that can't do for me. I'm gonna, and I'm only gonna be here until the end of my lease. And they said, okay, cool, not to worry. Please submit a notice of leave, which kind of aggravated me because it's like, I wasn't leaving sooner. I was leaving at the time of the lease. So but anywhoosies, I filled out the notice of leave form, and then I went onto the cruise because it was it was going off between the Christmas and New Year's time. I would be back in Australia by January 5th, and I was thinking, I had 5 weeks to look for a place. Surely it shouldn't be that hard to look for a place to live. And they be acting like the apartment evolved. The apartment had not evolved. That's not what happens here. What happened here is that someone decided to put a lot of money into the apartment, and they decided, because they put so much money into the apartment, that they needed to increase the rent to help supplement the interest rate and the loan that they had to pay back on, and they didn't exactly they either didn't have a job that was doing well, or that was the job, just holding property and forcing people to, pay the mortgage. But anywhoosies, so, I thought, 5 weeks before the end of my lease, I'll be fine. I will be looking around, I will do inspections, and I'll throw applications in just before Australia Day, and knowing my luck, I will find something before February. Australia Day rolls by. 2 of my backups have already returned to me as oh, hey, thank you for your application, but we went with a more successful applicant. We're so sorry. So, and I, when I was looking for a place to live back in 2022, I only had to put an application in 4 times, and one of them came in successfully, which was where I was in then, and then the other 3, came out as failures after the fact. And I think it was because I withdrawed or something like that at that point. So then, lo and behold, it's August. Sorry, I keep saying August, not August. It's not August. It's Australia Day. It's January 25th, 26th or something like that. And I am in panic mode. I have now thrown my application into way more places. Some of them that were not on my to-do list because of cost or because of missing features. I was like, nah, fuck it. I'm needing a place to live. And I know some people are like, oh, why don't you get a housemaid? Why don't you, move back in with your parents or what have you? Hi there, Brick. Welcome to the stream. I'm just giving a little relay of what's been going on with my life during the time that I was not properly streaming or committing to a stream schedule. We are now up to the part where in January of 26th, I was kind of in panic mode trying to find a place to live. And I wasn't looking for a place with flatmates or anything like that, because at this point, I had been living on my own for 4 years. I had not been looking for housemates. I don't have friends that were looking for housemates. Everyone around me has been getting their lives together and going forward. No one in the workplace was looking for a housemate. They were organizing weddings. They were getting babies. They were getting their homes. And here I was, 32 years old, like, once again going through the rental market. I didn't have a +1, so it wasn't like I had someone to split the rent with, so we could go for like a 3-bedroom apartment and, have it for like, a decent pay or something like that. No, I was looking by myself. I had to find a place that either was going to be less than $420, because even though I've finished my student debt, I am well above the, the median, take-home pay. Hi there, Erneazak. I very much was in this position where most metrics would tell me I am doing better than most, but holy fucking shit, did I not feel like I was doing better than most when trying to find a place to live for less than $500 a week. Wednesday rolls by. Wednesday, I think January 28th? Give me a second. Yes, January 28th. Because back on the 27th, I inspected the place that I currently looked at. It's run, like, the real estate agency is not a corporate real estate like LJ Hooker, Rain and Horn, Ray White, or yada yada yada. It's a mom and pop kind of situation. Apparently, they're getting so many applications, but they don't have an understanding of which ones are legitimate and which ones are people just trying to buy up the market just to try and hold property. They ask, hey, when you inspect the place, there's some other stuff that you are going to need to do for us that so we know when you got your application. They didn't tell you this when you first put in your application. They only tell you this when you've inspected the property. So thankfully, I inspected this property, and I got the little, tidbit of, hey, do these extra steps after you're done inspecting, which basically says, if you are a prospective, applicant or what have you, please send us an email at admin at, whatever the whoosmahoozies at .com.au. In your email, I want you to put into the subject the address of the place you're applying for, and then in the body, I want you to tell us your name, when you applied, where you applied, when you inspected, and then give us a little, paragraph or blurb summarizing yourself and your situation. Oh boy, it felt like going for a fucking job interview, trying to find a place to live. So, I pulled out all the stops. Hi there, Izzy. Welcome. So I pulled out all the stops. Basically, I just was unfiltered when I went into this email going, hi there, I'm a my name is Grant. I'm a 32-year-old male. I live on my own. I have 4 years rental history of living on my own. I have 8 years rental history in total, with 9 years at this full-time job that I am keeping myself financially independent and going to continue working in this job. I need to find a place to live by February 11th. I have no rental disputes, no, bankruptcy. If I do not find a place by February 11th, I am homeless. Quietly implying that, if I don't get this application, they would be possibly one of the people responsible for why I am homeless. Lo and behold, Wednesday rolls by. I get a phone call from them. They're like, bring, bring. Hi, is this Grant? Hi, we got your application. We just wanted to confirm a few things. And they were like, yep, your rental history is there. Your income is there. And what have you. Are you flexible with your move-in day? And I say, I am only flexible up until February 11th. It cannot be any time after February 11th. I would rather move in sooner rather than later. Side note, the property that I applied for said that they were available to move in February 27th. So basically the day after Australia Day, and when I inspected the place on the day after Australia Day, it was empty. So quite frankly, I wasn't waiting for someone to move out of this apartment. I was trying to get in as soon as possible. So lo and behold, they check in with me and they're like, yep, cool, thank you. We're going to send it off to the owner. You're on the short list with us. One in the Wednesday morning, this was going off during a time where I thought I wasn't going to find a place to live. I had 2 weeks left in my current lease. I started going onto Flatmates. I bought myself a background check. I paid for the premium to be at the top of people's lists like it was Tinder Gold, but for housemates. all this time, I honestly felt like this was it. I was going to be homeless, or I was going to be needing housemates that had no fucking clue who I was, and worst case scenario, I would have to hide the fact that I was a furry and that I would not be able to stream to any of yous. So then all that would happen is I would be in this tight one-bedroom apartment sharing situation with all my shit crammed into the bedroom or into storage at that point, hoping to save money so then that way I can get a different place to live. 1 in the afternoon rolls by, and I get the phone call back saying, hey, the owner likes your application. Would you be interested in moving in February 11th? 9 applications in, and this is the one that said yes. I withdrew from like 2 places, and every other place came back to me as, hey, thank you for the application. Unfortunately, you were not accepted. 9 places. 2 of them withdraws, 1 acceptance, the remainder all denials. It is truly fucked. It is... So yeah. So after going through the pressures of finding a place to live and finding a place to move into before, like, you know, my last day in the old place, I was able to get a place. Now comes the new problem. I need to move all my stuff out by February 11th and move into a place by February 11th. I think you can see the problem. Now, thankfully, when I was talking to the real estate agent, while my lease technically started February 11th, I could pick up the keys February 10th at a late afternoon. At the time, they were saying 5 p.m., which in my opinion, that is not the late afternoon, that is the fucking evening. I don't care if some people think 5 p.m. is the late afternoon. In Brisbane, shit starts closing down at 5 p.m. because they interpret it as the evening in the business. So I am going to interpret 5 p.m. as the evening. So yeah. So I'm able to pick up my keys February 10th in the late afternoon. I need to get 5 p.m. evening. You'll fit well on the island. Hi there, Velk. Welcome to the stream. But yeah, so I'm doing some, you know, I'm doing some calls for bond cleaners and such, because I went with the first movers that were popped up on a Google search called Team Removalists. I then look for bond cleaners. All of them are only interested in doing bond cleans in the morning. So what I needed to do then was go back to the Team Removalists and say, hey, are you able to do, like, you know, Tuesday late afternoon? And they said, yeah, that's doable. It's just going to be an increased rate on, like, the per hour thingamajiggy. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't exactly have a choice. And they're like, excellent. Please send us an advance before we lock you in. And I was just like, oh, goodness, okay. And so I put my advance in. I put in $160 to get a guarantee that there was going to be removalists coming to my place, the old place I should mention, by 5 to 7 p.m. February 10th. I was hoping to pick up my keys February 10th by the latest 5 p.m. And then I had bond cleaners that were going to be cleaning up the old apartment by February 11th in the morning. The reason why bond cleaners do not operate on the weekends, and they don't operate on the same day as move out, and they don't operate in the afternoon, because while they arrive at 8 in the morning, they're not done until 2 or 3 p.m. It is a full day and a half for them trying to clean up apartments, and they don't have a full understanding of just how rubbish my apartment been, so they prefer to do the morning just in case it's a real shit stain. So yeah. So now for like the next week and a half, I'm just, you know, I'm just packing things as the days go on. I get myself like 60-70% packed. Mom comes over on like the Friday just before the movers, just before the like, you know, the Tuesday Wednesday nonsense. I check in with the real estate agent on that week of, hey, any chance I can pick up the keys sooner? I send this as a text message. I get a text message back from the old man saying, please call me. In which case, I then call him, and he's like, all right, hi there. I'm a little busy right now, but I just want to explain that it should have been explained to you by the receptionist that your lease was starting February 11th, and that we would be able to do February 10th at the latest. You said you were all right with that because you were flexible with move-in time. And I was like, yes, I understand. But they also said that I could contact you about organizing key pickup before then. And then I was hoping, you know, depending on your time, for key pickup prior to February 10th, and if possible, because it was available to move in on January 27th. He's like, I listen, the bad news is that you were just one of the last few people that we were able to set up appointments for. So I'm really busy with all these other appointments that are going off in the month because everyone else is breaking their lease. Something's just up with the month. So unfortunately, you just had to be the last one slotted in. Give me a ring back on, Friday, on next Wednesday to confirm, because maybe you'll be lucky and someone canceled an appointment on me and I can give you the keys sooner. But please send me a text message on next Wednesday. So yeah, Wednesday rolls by, send them the text message. They say, nah, we're still good for Tuesday, late afternoon. And I was just like, okay, cool, thank you. So my mom arrives on arrives on Friday. She helps me pack way more things. At this point, I am now 99% packed in my old place. And I get someone to help me with, patching. So, because, as we're taking the frames off walls and taking the lighthouses off the ceiling, there's holes in them because of nails or drilling into them and shit. And so, so Friday was all the packing. So Saturday was a day where we just, used spackle or whatever the fuck it's called and filled in the holes, and then, tried to find the closest proximity to white. Like, also, fun fact, chat, white is not white in, painting universes. For whatever reason, there are different kinds of, shades of white, and it is really fucking insane, and it's really, really difficult trying to find the right white to go with the white walls that I had. So that was a pain and a half trying to look for, and even at the end of all this, you could still see where the holes were, but the fact of the matter is that they were drilled holes, and they were small nails, and they were about, at most, half, a centimeter or 5 centimeter wide or less. Any whoosies. I plug those holes, I get them painted over, so then that way they're repaired, because that was asked of me when I first put the holes in, that when I would vacate the property, I would repair it, and I did. So yeah, Sunday happens. I just pack up even more things that were not packed. That was my last minute stuff. Monday rolls by. I am just I have taken time off work from Friday when my mom was visiting to Wednesday, the last day of the lease and what have you. I was very much just anxious and shaky and worried for Tuesday and Wednesday, because Tuesday afternoon / Tuesday night was supposed to be all the moving, the key pickup, yada yada yada, and then Wednesday was going to be the bond clean. And the intention was that because of the movers and such like that on the Tuesday night, my Wednesday would be just letting the bond cleaners come in on Wednesday morning. I go back to the new place to unpack things, so then ideally I wasn't sitting living in boxes when I went back to work. Tuesday rolls by. I get a call from the real estate agent. He asks me, hey, are you flexible with your pickup time for keys? And I reiterate, it can't be later than 5 p.m. And he's like, no. So sooner than that. And I'm like, yes, absolutely, yes. I'm available all day. I am a 10-minute minutes away from the place. Just let me know when. He's like, all right, yeah, I'm busy right now. I'll send you a text when you can come over. Clunk. I get a text message, 2 p.m. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. It's 5:30 or 5:50 or something like that. I sprint to the new place so I can pick up my keys at 2 o'clock. I give my dad a phone call because I arranged, I forgot to mention, I arranged with my dad to be able to come over Tuesday afternoon / night. So then that way, he, if I was lucky of picking up the keys sooner than 5 p.m., he could help me move some sensitive stuff from the old place to the new place. Or if I couldn't, then there would at least be an adult who would supervise the movers on 5 p.m. while I was dealing with the key pickup and, whatever last minute things. So basically, I go to pick up the keys. He gives me a quick little tour of this is where the electrical panel is. This is where your main power is. This is the apartment, as if I didn't already go through a rental inspection over the place to see whether or not it was suitable for me to put in an application. He makes a note of the crack in the awning because of the movement of the building, and a piece of the wall that has the plaster removed because someone had M3 tape and didn't properly remove it. And so by about 2:30, 3 o'clock, I finally was done with him and, done looking around the place and doing my little notes of like the entry notice and, my inspection. So then I rush home back to the old place to where my dad was now waiting for me. I get a text message, I get a phone call from the movers, team removalists, telling me, "Hi there, Grant. Unfortunately, there's been some truck troubles with us this morning, so we've had everyone's jobs being pushed back an hour. The removalists that you've hired for 5 to 7 p.m. are not going to be able to make it between 5 or 7 p.m. They're going to try and get to you by 7 to 8 p.m. All right. You know what? That's fine, because at least you're still coming in the evening, and I have my dad with me to help me move some stuff between the hours of like 4 and 7 o'clock, which he does for me. We grab some of my precious gear, such as my PC gear, the modem, some random boxes that I need to immediately have unpacked. That is like, my diet shakes and what have you. We move them into this new apartment. It was fantastic. Me, my dad, and my grandfather, who's nicknamed Grumps. Grumps, me, and my dad, all helping me out. They hear the news of like, oh, the movers are like delayed until 7 or 8 p.m. And my dad's just like, I reckon, because of them like originally meant to be going in at like, 5 to 7 p.m. that they're not going to make it this evening. Do you want us to help move some more stuff? And I'm like, sure, let's move a few more things, but let's not deal with like any of the major furnitures, because that was the reason for the removalists. It should be their responsibility. And they told me that, while there was delays, that they are trying to get to me by 7 or 8 p.m. in the evening. And so, Dad, oh my god, that's my mom. I am so sorry, chat, that is my mom. I love you too, Mom. Bye. Bye. So that was my mom. They were just like looking over like my, because I sent like a most recent. So yeah, sorry. I'm getting a little ahead of like the most recent stuff that's been going off and such. I'll wait till this game is done. Sinless. That sinless does not feel like an appropriate word. That seems like two words crammed together, like beekeeper. I'm gonna be annoyed if... Oh my god, signs. Because sine is a mathematical thingamaboob. Ridiculous. Alright, excellent. We did it, chat. Alright, I'll hide that for later. So yeah, where was I in my, Oh yeah! So, Team Removalist. They were meant to come in Tuesday, 5 to 7 p.m. There was truck problems, so they said 7 to 8 p.m. Dad, Grumps, and I, we already moved some of like the most fragile stuff that I wasn't really confident about the movers moving. And so they then said, my dad said, hey, let's move some more stuff because they're going to be late. This is going to be a bit of a, like, you know, they're being fuckwits. That's such a word, fuckwits. So, and it's possible that they're not going to come tonight and that you're going to need to get them tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, that's going to be really annoying if that's the case. And he's like, then let's move some more boxes. And so we did. So what was like, you know, a whole ton of furniture and like 30 odd boxes was now a whole ton of furniture and like 18 boxes. I then get a call from the team removalist. Hi there, what's going... I'm like, hi there, this is Grant. And they say, oh, hi there. We're sorry to say, but we can't get to you tonight. How does tomorrow sound? What the fuck do you mean tomorrow? I paid in advance. You said you would be here from 5 to 7 on a Tuesday night. It's now 7:30. What do you mean you can't make it tonight? And they're like, we're so sorry. All right, but, you know, we're just having some troubles. And I'm like, it cannot be later than 8 a.m. tomorrow because I have bond cleaners. It is imperative that you arrive on time, and I was expecting that and from you tonight. And they were like, we're so sorry, but we can do a different standard rate because of going in the morning. And so lo and behold, they were then like, you know, instead of spending like $160 an hour, it was now back down to $130 an hour with a call out fee of like $70 instead of $80. My deposit was like, my advance was already still with them. And they were like, yep, we'll be in like Wednesday morning from 6 to 7 a.m. And I was like, it needs to be early. I should be the first person. They're like, yep, you'll be the first job of the day. And I'm like, what guarantees do I have that you will be here from 6 to 7? Because as I've mentioned already, I have a bond clean at 8 a.m. and you were hired for Tuesday night, and you're telling me you can't do Tuesday night. And they're like, we'll be there. My dad does not believe him. And so we move even more boxes. So at this point, hi there, Fizz Tiger, welcome to the stream. At this point, we've even reduced even more boxes. So now there are only 6 moving boxes and furniture to deal with. So what used to be like a 2-bedroom apartment move kind of situation for team removalists is now down to like 1-bedroom apartment at best. We didn't move the bed. Now, here comes... This is where the fun begins. Because it's now like, you know, 8:30, 9 o'clock. My dad and Grumps are kind of done with the day. And, you know, I only expected them to be here, like, you know, until 7 p.m. Because, like, you know, the original idea was that the removalists would have arrived by 5 to 7 p.m., but clearly they didn't. And that's my phone telling me that I should be ready to go to sleep in the next hour. Any whoosies. So my dad and Grumps leave, and it was like, you know, I'm just gonna sleep in the old apartment, repeating of my joke. Grumps, Greg's, and GrantZeebs. Lol, that would be good if my dad's name was Greg's. Grumps. Grumps, Griggs, and Grant, yeah. But yeah, so once they left, I was back in my old place, and it was like, well, cool. I'm just gonna go to sleep now because I need to be awake before 6 a.m. Because if they give me an because ideally, when you have like remover lists and such, they will give you a call like about 30 minutes before they arrive. So yeah, I was going to go to bed early. Turns out, one of the things that got moved, thanks to me, Grumps, and my dad, was my suitcase full of clothes. Because I thought that I was going to be, dealing with removalists, moving all my stuff into the new place, and I would be, half moved in at the new place with, like, all the furniture there, but none of the stuff unpacked. So it was best having a, after some barking around, I've been invited to Deadlock. Congratulations, Wild Saber. But yeah, after doing all this moving around of extra boxes and such to make the job easier for the removalist Wednesday morning, I totally forgot that I left my suitcase of clothes and pajamas at the new place. So lo and behold, I'm in my old place, sleeping in the nude, which is not normally how I like sleeping. I like sleeping with pajama bottoms at the very least. I do not like the idea of sleeping under a duvet with nothing between me and the bed sheets. So uncomfortable sleeping up the wazoo, and I woke up at I tried going to sleep because I knew I was like, all right, I have my alarm set for 5 a.m. That will give me plenty of time. I just need to get some sleep. 1 a.m. 2 a.m. 2:30 a.m. I was having the worst fucking sleep. I just could not relax. I was so anxious and so nervous. Wednesday rolls by, 5 a.m. I wake up. I get a reminder from my dad. If the removalists are not there by 6:30, give him a call and he will help you. Naked Zeebs, you say. Yeah, from Metal Gear Solid. But yeah, so yeah, and because I didn't have my suitcase, I essentially put back on the clothes that I had yesterday. So I was wearing a shirt, I was like wearing underwear, clothes, and socks and such that I already spent an entire day wearing that was getting sweaty because of all the stuff I had to move up and down. Plans to sleep, meanwhile the brain is just like, hold my beer. Exactly. So yeah, so 5 o'clock rolls by, I wake up, I don't have any towels to get a shower, so all I have at best is deodorant, and then getting myself like, a diet shake to, have as my morning. And so, like, thankfully the fridge was still, at the old place, so there was already chilled water and such. 6:15 rolls by. I have not heard anything from the removalists about coming in shortly. I give them a call. There's no answer. I called their offices. There's no answer. Their offices don't open until 7:30. 6:30 rolls by. I give their offices another call. For booking, press 1. For dispatch, press 2. I click for dispatch. Instant hang up after the dispatch. At this point, I send a text message to my dad saying, hey, there's been no, removalist calls or anything like that, and I tried calling them, and they're not responding. And so my dad's like, I'm getting toast. I'm just having toast. I'll be there shortly. I'll be there at 7:30 or something like that. 7 o'clock rolls by. I give him another call. No response. I leave a message. I'm like, hey, where are the removalists? They were supposed to be here between 6 and 7 a.m. It's 7 o'clock. They're not here. I get a call from my dad. He tells me that with the bond cleanings coming at 8 o'clock, probably one of the smartest things for me to do at this point is to start moving all of my stuff out from the apartment and outside. So, I start hauling ass. 6 boxes gone. They're out of the apartment. They're out of the side of the building right now. I grab a disassembled dining table. That's out. That's on the side of the road. I grab a coffee table. That's on the side of the road. A giant fan. I try and move the bookshelves. I am grabbing as many things as possible of my own stuff and getting it out of the fucking way. My dad is set to arrive by approximately 7:45. No word from the removalist. I give him another call at 7:30. Finally, someone picks up. I ask them, hey, what's going on with these? Good thing you're a beefy Zeebs. Good thing, yeah, but my arms are getting tired. And what's more is I still had to deal with the fridge, the bed, the television, a standing desk, a washing machine. I still had some of the heaviest shit to deal with. So I give the removalists another call. Finally, I was able to get to dispatch, and I asked them, demanding, where are the removalists? You were meant to be here Tuesday night. You delayed. You changed the date. It is now 7:30 on the Wednesday, and there's still no removalist. Appliances? Yes, I had to move appliances as well. They say, I'm so sorry. Let me get back to you in 5 minutes and try and figure out where they are. He doesn't call back in 5 minutes. My dad gives me a message saying, hey, maybe you should start looking for other removalists. I go for mini movers. Because their name is on the side of the boxes that I ordered. Turns out, I did use mini movers 4 years ago to move into this place. I have completely forgotten about mini movers. They can do a move of a one-bedroom apartment of stuff, but they can only do it between the hours of 12 and 3 p.m., which is, quite a bit late, but to be fair, I probably should have called them yesterday after the initial delay from the first removalists, but, I was still hung up on I put a deposit down on the other guys, and I didn't want to get that lost because I canceled on them. So, but any whoosies, I put that booking down with the mini movers to, have someone there from 12 p.m. or 3 p.m. to arrive. It's 8 o'clock. The bond cleaners are here. I still have a fridge, a bed, and a television, and a washing machine to get rid of out of the apartment. My dad helps me out in getting the fridge and the washing machine out from the apartment and downstairs into the side of the road. We get the bed. It's like, a queen-size bed. It's a bit of a heavy fucker. We get that outside and leaning up against a fence. At this point, everything is out of my apartment. There is dust all over the place in this apartment. The bond cleaners are just going at the place, getting it cleaned as best as they can, mopping the floors and what have you. And so, it's 8:30. It's like 9 o'clock, I think, at this point. There's still no sign of the removalist from Team Removalist. My dad says, let's start moving some of this furniture over into your other place, Ace, and, we'll try and move as much as possible. So we get the desks, we get the table, we get the bookshelves, we get those moved, we get parts of the couch moved, we get the television moved. Like, we are just banging out as much stuff as possible. By the time 11 o'clock rolls by, everything has been moved to the new place, either into the garage or upstairs, besides the frame of the couch, the bed, the fridge, and the washing machine. 4 items remain. Hi there, Nano Gamer. Welcome to the stream. I'm just giving an update of what my last week was in, regards to moving and what have you. Also, I need to take a big sip. So 11 o'clock rolls by. There's only 4 items remaining, and quite frankly, they're the heaviest fuckers to deal with, and I didn't want to have to go up a flight of stairs to try and carry a refrigerator, because at the old place, it was an elevator. So, I gave a call to Mini Movers. Hi there. I arranged for, a pickup from, 12 to 3 p.m. in your booking. I wanted to confirm if there was still someone coming in at 12 to 3 p.m. Could you please clarify as well, a more accurate time of when they might arrive? Not to worry, Grant. Give me 5 minutes. Please stay on the line. They put the hold music on me. So fantastically, in less than 5 minutes, they take me off the hold music and they tell me, alright, so Grant, the removalists should be slated to arrive between 12 and 12:30 p.m. today. They will give you a call 30 minutes before it happens. Before they arrive, and you just need to pay for them via FPOS or credit card at the end of the move. And I was just like, excellent, fantastic to hear, thank you so much. I go back to Team Removalist. These fuckers, These guys, I give them a call. Turns out...
Pull the lever.
No, Wild Saber, I'm almost at the...
Huh?
I give the team removalist a call. Turns out, for the last, like, 4 hours, they don't know where their removalist truck guys are. 2 guys in a truck in Queensland, and they have no idea where these guys are. I ask, is there anyone else who can do it? They say no. They're the only ones. In which case, I said, all right, I want my advance back and cancel this service. I hired you for Tuesday night. You delayed because of car troubles. You pushed me back to an entire day afterwards as well, and they are not here. They did not arrive between 6 or 7 a.m. And he's like, are they there right now? And I'm like, they are not there. I have been here all day. There is no one. In which case, the guy says, hold on 1 second. All right, so I just talked to my manager, and we can go ahead and give you a refund. It will just take us 2 business days to complete. I'm fine with that, but I want it all back and cancel the service. And they're like, yes, understandable. So sorry. Thank you. You have a good day. Fuck Team Removalist. Absolutely terrible. I cannot believe my brain decided to have a fucking brain fart and not realize that I used mini movers 4 years ago. I should have just gone with mini movers from the start, and I probably wouldn't have been in that mess where all of my stuff was on the side of the road for like 4 hours. So yeah. 11:50 rolls by. 11:50 rolls by. Dad had to leave because he had some other plans and such like that, but he tells me if no one arrives by 2:30, give him a call and he will move the washing machine and the fridge for me. Bless him. He doesn't even have a truck. He has a van. So the thing would just have to be like laid out on its side. Any whoosies. I'm sitting on the remains of a couch, waiting outside. I'm just on my phone, checking up with people and just giving people the update of where I am, like, you know, family and friends. And lo and behold, I get a call at 11:50 from Mini Movers. It's the removalists. They're going to be arriving in approximately 30 minutes or less. And I said, that's fantastic to hear. I will be waiting. All of my stuff is outside. Thank you very much. 12:20 rolls by. They're here. They look at they see me. They can't get into a visitor car spot because the truck is so big, but they just open the side door of the truck and they're like, "Right. We were told that you have 1 bedroom's worth of stuff." And I said, "Yes, I do, but there's been prior movements thanks to my dad, so now it's just these 4 items that you see out on the side." And they're like, fantastic. Without using trolleys, without using dollies or lifts, they just pick up stuff and start moving it into a truck. It's 2 guys. They pick up the fridge and lift it onto the truck bed. They pick up the washing machine and lift it onto the truck bed. They do that with the bed frame, and the couch. Those 4 things. They were done lickety-split in less than 15 minutes. Such strong, big men. Oh, they weren't even that big. They were just Aussie. They were just Aussie mates. That's all they were just Aussie mates moving shit. They weren't super strong or anything crazy like that. Any whoosies. So as they were picking up the last item, I was like, you know, I'll start walking to the other place to, you know, because like, you know, they have like GPS and such. They're like, "Oh, we can give you a lift to the new place and you can just give us directions on where you need to go." And I'm like, fantastic. So I'm riding shotgun. I check in with them about the height of the truck because there's a bridge that's 3.6 meter clearance. Their truck is 3.4 meters, so that's all good there. We get to the new place. Once again, they open the side door of the truck and then they just start picking up the stuff and going up the stairs and moving it. There's also all these boxes in the garage, and I ask, "Hey, leave the washing machine in the garage because that's where the pipes are. Are you okay with moving the boxes that are currently in this garage upstairs?" And they say, "Yeah, it'll probably take us another 15 minutes and you'll be charged for that 15 minutes, but we can do it." And I'm like, excellent, great to hear. They pick up so everything is going smoothly with the mini movers. They're just picking up stuff and going upstairs. They're going up like 18 steps and then they're just putting it into the new place. The fridge was like the trickiest thing to put into the new place because the arches like have a little curve at the top, so you have to like tip the fridge forwards or backwards in order to have them like fit through the arches. But they get it through there. It's in the kitchen. Lo and behold, everything's done before 1:30. I get charged like for like an hour's rate and the fuel cost. All of it was done. I was so thankful. So yeah, at 1:30, I then like look around at the stuff again, and you know, I do a little bit of essential unpacking, which was the bed sheets and the internet connection with my modem. I got those two connected up right away. It was around 2:30 or 2 o'clock. I headed back to the old place to check in on the bond cleaner. Tell me one of them gave you their number to make the deal even better. Nah, they didn't. That I ain't one of them kind. I ain't a I don't lean that way. Crafty Grant. I'm sorry to say, I'm single. I'm straight as a straw. Anywhoosies. So yeah, I go back to the old place. The bond cleaners have done an immaculate job. And so I do a little recording to quickly, like, you know, have like for the exit interview and such like that. So then that way I had, you know, evidence of like, you know, the exemplary job that the bond cleaners did. I grab the spare keys. I put them all in a little baggie, and then I make my way to the real estate agent and I give him my keys and the entry, you know, inspection form that I had at the start of 4 years ago, and they said, awesome, you know, the property manager will do an exit inspection. Even straws bend, Grant. Yeah. So yeah, so Wednesday, like, so many things were delayed, but by the end of Wednesday, I had returned my keys. All of my stuff was in the new place. The old place was cleaned up. The bond inspection was going to go off on Thursday. I think I was going to be doing pretty well. And then today happened. Oh, yes. That's right. Also, I just realized there's an advertisement that's been going off for like the last minute, so that's not too great. I'll probably wait for the advertisement to be done before I, you know, prattle. Actually, while the advertisement is being done, what I'll do is I will go and put my watch on charge because, you know, charging watch. All right, I am back. Give me a second. I'm just gonna put this thing back on. There we go. Hey, Biz. So yeah, so, you know, so Wednesday, I didn't really have all that time to unpack everything, which was really unfortunate. I got like a majority of this PC unpacked and had it set up in this office. I had like parts of the living room unpacked and parts of the kitchen and parts of the bedroom, so then that way I at least had clothes and a place to sleep. Thursday rolls by. I have to... Ain't it good news? We're getting Metal Gear Solid 4. Yes, we are. We're getting a Metal Gear Solid 4 remake on the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2, as many of us predicted there would be. Also, hi there, Cap. Welcome, welcome. I'm getting to the latest news of what I've been doing this week in regards to the move. You thought the troubles of the moving to a new place would be done by Wednesday after everything was moved? Oh, you are so wrong. There is still more to come. Because Thursday rolls by, it's a day of work. I didn't arrange for Thursday and Friday to be days off because I thought I would have had my stuff moved in on Tuesday and then I would do all my nonsense Wednesday. But, you know, everything got delayed by a day, so I'm still unpacking nonsense Thursday. But I can't do that during the workday. It has to go off after work. My arms, my back were so tired, but I thought to myself, it was all okay. The worst was behind me. There was only the unpacking of this new place to deal with, and I would get my bond back from the old place with no problems. For those of you that are not aware, that is foreshadowing of lesser fortunate things to happen. So yeah, so, you know, the property manager or whoever the agent was did an exit inspection thing on the Thursday. I got no messages about it on Thursday, so I thought there was no problems. Friday rolls by. I realize Friday morning that the fan in my bedroom in this new place, unless I have the light on, it does not run. I have to leave the light on if I want the fan to run. The remote for the fan control has a light option, but it doesn't turn off the light. You can only turn off the light from the wall, but if you turn off the light from the wall, it turns off the fan as well. Bit of a weird electrical what's-a-mahoozy there, but you know what? I told myself I'll just put in a maintenance request when I get into work, and I'll send the text message and what have you, and, you know, I'll do that all after the team meeting and such. I got totally distracted from trying to do that because I got an email from the previous real estate agent basically saying, "Hi, Grant, and I am writing to confirm that we have finalized the vacate inspection of blah 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 blah. There are outstanding items that require rectification before we can attend to your bond refund. Attaches the exit inspection report outlining the items that require attention." Turns out that they noted a few problems with the property in question. Like, it was not up to a standard that they liked. They noted things such as, like, after a bond clean, might I tell you, they noted things such as spot marks on walls and some dirt-marked ceilings, dirt along the skirting, small drip under the AC unit to argue that why the air conditioner was not working. The bench top is not clean and is now damaged because of a possible discoloration stains. The stovetop has dust still present. The exhaust fan / range hood has grime present. Please clean. And then, yeah, like walls, like, you know, some markings on the ceiling. The wardrobe needed the floor of the wardrobe needed to be vacuumed, as there was a spot mark on the wall as well, and to wipe out shelving. The ensuite doorstop was broken, and there was some marks on the door. The bathroom needed further cleaning on the walls and floor, and grouting to be cleared. Like, they made all these notes, and then there was a thing of like, oh yeah, the toilet roll holder is coming loose, and that further cleaning needed to be done on the base of the ball and wiping around the cistern and seat lid. What in the actual fuck? I have dealt with apartments in house inspections when I was looking for a new place to live, where quite frankly, they just left bugs on the ground, and it was a fucking disrepair. What do you mean that you had these issues, like these unclean, like, you know, like random things of like some debris, or, you know, further cleaning on the base of the ball and wiping around the cistern? And then there was fun things like, oh, the toilet paper roll holder is coming loose, but a picture was not of the toilet paper roll, but of the towel rack, which I had already had reported as being loose in my entry notice 4 years ago. Lo and behold, there's a few issues I have with this exit inspection. And like, you know, they give you like these photos and such. Some of these photos I'm not fully understand, because like some of them are in really poor high resolution, and, you know, trying to see them on a PDF is not great. And so, lo and behold, I'm asking them, hey, what's the deal with some of these things? And they go, oh, and so for the first ones, like, I didn't ask, is about the previous resident or the current resident? No. So this is me. I'm the previous resident in this scenario. This is the exit report interview. This is the exit inspection. So yeah, so So yeah, because they've got all these photos of things that are not marked as an issue on my end, but is still like evidence and what have you. So like some of them I'm not 100% on. But yeah, when they talk about like marks on the wall, they're talking about the marks on the wall from where I had like nails or screws. And I have an email that basically says, "Hey, you're okay for putting screws and nails into the walls, so long as you repair them when you vacate," which I did. So now comes the fun thing of, hey, what exactly are you expecting to be done with some of these things? So some of the stuff is cleaning related, which, I just get the I get the bond cleaners to come back and do it again. But then there's some stuff such as spot marks on walls and ceiling in the bedroom, like they're like some patchwork sticker to be removed. So like now I'm like, and I've already sent one email about the sticker that they're talking about and the loose towel rail, and like all that was sent out, and they're like, oh hey, and also like discoloration on the kitchen bench. Like basically overall, I got a lot of nitpicky fucking nonsense pointed out in the leaser agent comments, and it sounded like that they wanted, like, if I wasn't going to do this kind of shit myself, I apologize if I curse, but tell them to fix their own shit that has nothing to do with you and is very minimal cosmetic damage, or if stuff they ignore. Yeah, no, so very much so. Very much so. There was some stuff where I was like, okay, some of this is superficial as fuck, but which of these is like, a proper problem? Because I can totally imagine them having a problem with maybe the quality of how the patchwork was done and what have you. But lo and behold, they take photos of some marks on the walls that were not done by me, but were done by a painter that they organized before my lease started, but didn't do the job until after I moved in. So by this point, they had done a job after my entry notice. I've now sent a follow-up email after picking up the keys after work. The office is closed at this point. They closed at 5 o'clock. They're not open on the weekend, and they tell me, could you please advise whether or not you can or cannot attend to the matter by 12 p.m. tomorrow, either by email or by phone call? Are they going to respond to me on Saturday? I will be amazed if they do. But yeah, so anywhoosies, so now I have this, so now I have, like, I have this, like, exit report that talks about, all these superficial things, and some of them are, like, are legitimate, like the marks on the walls and such, but because they have photos of, like, some very superficial nonsense and some very serious nonsense, I don't know which ones are the ones that they want me to, like, properly attend to, and that would actually be detrimental to my bond. Also, they wanted me to be able to, and they were like, in addition to the items noted on the exit condition report, the below items / charges are also outstanding, and let me know if you would like these charges deducted from your bond or if you will be paying directly. Payment can be used using the same method and reference number as your rental payments. I opted for, not having my bond used for paying for the water usage. So, because here's the thing. This is something that they do in Queensland, apparently. If you do not get your full bond back, it is marked on your rental history. It will be marked on your rental history if you ever have any, like, tenancies in the past where you did not get the full bond back. Whether, like, which is fucking ridiculous. That is like that is some real, like, nervous nonsense, because there is a big difference between your bond not being returned versus $30 taken out of your bond to pay for the water bill. So I don't want any of my bond going away. That's some dystopian shit. Welcome to Australia. The housing is fucked. The rental market is fucked. Because quite frankly, someone in Australia back in the 1990s thought, what would be great if we made the investment risk of housing not that risky. So then that way people had a guaranteed return on housing. But then lo and behold, because you made home returns a guarantee, you then upped the return, and you upped the demand for return, which in turn meant that the cost of these homes would go up. But then you made it so that the cost of these homes and the return on these homes went up without any actual investment. So now you had people land banking, house banking, all of that just going up in price just for the simple reason they existed. What other fucking natural resources or properties can you think of would just increase over time for just banking on it. It is despicable. It is atrocious. And this is where we live in Australia, where, you know, if the interest rates go up, then anyone that owns a home or like, you know, owns a property but is still paying off the mortgage and is having renters in there because it's an investment property, they're not taking on the brunt of the investment loss. They're passing it on to the renter. There is no cap on how much you can increase a rent during tenancy. There is a limit on how often you can increase it. It's once a year or once a signing, but there is no limit on how much you can increase it. Argumentatively, someone could increase the rent by 100%, and I would have no repercussions. I would have no way to counter that 100% increase, because, you know, the market would dictate the price. But if the market just keeps going up and we're not, and like, it's aggravating. So yeah. So the phone call I just had with my mom this evening during stream, because here's the thing, is like my mom and her boyfriend, they've like lived around, they've rented and such. Her boyfriend had gone through a situation where they did do like marks in the walls or something like that. And, you know, even he's a professional. So like he filled in the holes. He did like a little paint. He did like, he put the spackle. He did the painting over the hole. The owner did not think the repair was acceptable. And so on that guy's word, the boyfriend had to paint the walls. He had to paint everything at that point if he wanted to get his bond back, or for it to be seen as, you know, adequate repair. I thought the US had stringent rental things. This is not the United States, Crafty. Despite this accent, I live in Australia. I live in Down Under. I live in the Southern Hemisphere. I live in a place where 90% of the population lives in the southeast coast. We are the population that is like, you know, barely that of New York or any one of the states in the United States, but we have a landmass that is equal in size to the United States. It's fucked. But yeah, so, you know, there's a, like, I have not yet gotten word back from the real estate agent that I just went through on whether or not they expect me to paint the entire walls for those marks. I know, I just assumed the US had more stringent bullshit than this. I don't know. I don't live in the US. I live in Australia, so I can only comment on, like, the ridiculousness of the Australian housing market and how, you know, there's a bit of a fallacy in place of, it's not really an investment if all the repercussions and all the potential of losses is guaranteed against. That's not an investment. That is a safety deposit. But like, it's crazy. It is fucking ridiculous. This is the world I live in. Excuse me. So yeah. So I don't know if the old place that I was living in wants me to go as far as painting the entire walls in order to cover up the holes that I filled in and what have you. I don't know that. My mom and my boyfriend think we might need to go that far, but I don't want to do that because, one, when they decided to do an urgent job request when I was living in there in 2022, the painter didn't paint the entire walls. He painted some random fucking spots behind the door. So I'm of the opinion that, you know, I would like them in writing to tell me what they expect the adequate repair to be, keeping in mind that they have already, you know, played their hand, so he failed in his job. It's not noted that he failed his job by the real estate agent, and I didn't think they failed their job. So now it's on the rental. So either the rental agency is going to be seen as hypocrites because they were fine with the job that the painter did, and they're trying to have the, you know, the failings of the painter with my failings lumped into it together, or they're just going to have to admit that the quality that I have done has actually been adequate, and that the only things they're complaining about are bond cleaning things, which at this point should not be my problem. I have gone with the bond cleaners they decided on. It should be the bond cleaners' problem at this point. So yeah. So I'm basically waiting on... So yeah, so tomorrow morning, go back to the old place, try and fix up whatever stuff the bond cleaner isn't going to be responsible for, be there for the bond cleaner. Bond cleaner does all the touch-up and cleanups that they need to do that was listed in the bond agreement. Mom and her boyfriend help me around the apartment so they can. And then lo and behold, you know, if there is time, maybe they can come back to this new place and help me unpack some things and maybe get rid of some boxes. Because I'm still living in boxes at this point. I haven't even... So, you know, so this is where the journey has been so far this year. It has been nothing but panic, anxiety, worry about trying to find a new place to live, and then coupled on with the fact that I still need to deal with my old place. I have moved out of that old place 2 days ago, and I am now stuck with trying to get that fucker cleaned up and presentable. And it's not on the market right now, which means that someone did look at that property that was, let me remind you again, $650 a week. Someone looked at that price and said, that seems like an acceptable price for a 2-bedroom apartment that's not in the city and is down south. I will accept that rate. So someone has accepted that rate, and they're not moved in yet. I don't know when they will move in. The real estate agent doesn't give me that kind of information. So now comes the fun bit of, hey, what do they expect me to do? Joy. Pithings. So... yeah. So yeah. That is where I am. Is most of your stuff out of the place? Yes. Everything is out of the place. $650 a week? Yeah. $650 a week for a 2-bedroom apartment that's south of the city. When I first moved into that your old real estate is a right cunt. They are. So back in 2022, it was $420 a week. And then in 2023, they upped it to $440 a week. And then in 2024, they upped it to $485. And then in 2025, they upped it to $510. So yeah. So that's how that place was going. They just kept it going up, up, and up. They changed owners from 2024 to from 2025 to 2026. The owners changed hands. So when it got to 2026, they wanted $650 a week. Yeah. That is the state we live in Australia. And that's happening. That's happening all around. That is not a you know, an odd thing to happen in Australia's rental market. That's how the cookie crumbles. That's how they do it. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. I hate it. So, yeah. You worked overtime for over a year, and knowing what I get from my job currently, along with paying rent and other bills and whatnot. You wouldn't last any more than 2 months before you'd probably scream that the point of your down check would disappear to live in such a small place for that high of a rental price. What's that video? Like, it's Keanu Reeves, who's like an angel or something like that, and he has his job, and he's just like, Enrique, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with my check. There's no money. Where's the... I can't live like this. Like, that's where we are. Like, that is not, like... Quite frankly, that would be about 80% of my pay. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It would have been, like, over 50% for me at this point. Like, I've done the math. Like, I have done the math as to, like, you know, what kind of stuff would cost and what have you. So, to put into context, before I had my Hex debt, I could only, like, before I had my Hex debt cleared, I was putting in maybe $23,000 a fortnight. Now, the age-old wisdom is that you're supposed to put in, like, you know, a third. Actually, let me get the calculator out. So, hang on a second. Where is calculator? You know what? Actually, I'll just open Paint, so then that way you can all see this kind of nonsense. So, yeah, so, to put into context, if we had, so, you know, before debt, so, before I finished my debt, which, by the by, the only reason I don't have debt is because my grandfather, with a healthy toast of nepotism, with a hefty dosage of nepotism, helped pay off my student debt, which was fantastic. So, you know, 2, 3, 6, a fortnight. So, now, you know, so that's basically 1,163 a week. Now, 1,001... Wait, did I do that math correctly? Yeah, 1,163 a week. So, actually, let me double check that math. So 2,336 divided by 2 equals... Oh, 1,168, sorry. Alrighty, so... Now, conventional wisdom is that you would spend about, you know, 1/3 of your rent. So 0.3333 recurring, yada, yada, yada. Which means that before I had my Hex debt cleared, the ideal rental situation for me was to find a place for $385 a week. There are no single bedroom apartments that were worth that. Ah, you put quotation marks in. Hang on a second, let me refund you that. I still need to, will it let you change the thingy-majiggy again? Hang on a second. No, not the stolen shirt. Where's the choose a shirt? Pick a shirt. Oh, it's still on cooldown. God damn it. Alright, you know what? I'm gonna change it to... Where's Fat Wolf? Maybe I need to get rid of the quotation marks, because maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the problem, is I need to get rid of the quotation marks in the example, so then that way people don't get, like, hung up on the what's-mahoozies. I thought having quotation marks would help, but, you know, that's probably not right. Alright, shirt picker, Vignon, nope, that's not it. Chatbot, timer, shirt picker, such a... Yep, alright, here we go. So, get rid of these quotation marks. Alright, let's test that trigger. Booster Pang, FF Green, or Metal Gear Solid. So yeah, hopefully that works out. So yeah, so any whoosies. You know, 385 a week. There is nowhere in the city or near the city that you would have been able to find for 385 a week. Like, you would probably be more successful, you know, doing like, you know, $450. So at that point, let me see. So So 450 divided by... At that point, you're spending 38%. So, like, if you wanted... So, $450 a week would have been more like, you know... 30... Yeah, 38%. Which... If you hit 35% or over in your take-home pay being used for rent, that's rental stress. Fun fact, that's not me personal opinion. That is economists agreeing that, you know, economists and psychologists agreeing that if your take-home pay and more than 33% of it is going towards just rent, like just mortgage or something like that, you're putting yourself into financial stress, which means that you're going to be giving yourself some anxiety. You're going to give yourself some long-term detrimental mental health. Not great. So yeah. So now that I've finished... hang on a second. Where's my text file notes? So yeah. Now that I've cleared my hex debt, so after debt... Hopefully all of you can see this. So after the debt, I was then getting 2, 4, for 4 a fortnight. God, this is terrible. I can type faster. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I am gonna type. So 2444 / fortnight, which equates to about $1,222 a week. Now, you know, 1/3 equals approximately $403 a week in rent. So, not really doing too well. Still no idea if this is big enough. Let's go with 36. 36 sounds like good. So yeah, so yeah, if you wanted something for like 450 a week, that's more like... Let me see if I do this math correctly. That's more like 36%. So, you know, not bad. Not bad. That's like a little better. Still financial stress, but not bad. So, thankfully though, I got myself a pay increase this year. So now it's like, you know, 2,539 take-home pay a fortnight, which equates to, hang on a sec, let me do my math, divided by 2. Approximately $1,269. Look, it's funny. I'm gonna go with that number. So that means times by 0.33. That means 1/3 equals, you know, $418 a week. Yeah, that's some decent increases into like what my percentage could be and such, but yeah. It's what's more is the current place that I'm living in right now, it costs more than that. I am like this is one of the struggles that I don't think people with homes in Australia, especially those with, like, you know, doing the multiple investment properties and such like that, I don't think this is something they understand, is that as our pay increases, it is going to be coinciding with interest rates and just cost of living and, like, you know, just normal go by inflation. And that's before we deal with the RBA inflating because they're not confident people will pay back their, you know, their bills or their, you know, their loans and such. So they increase the interest rate to try and decentivize people to go for home loans and shit. So what ends up happening then is, because you have a market filled with people that want to own homes, and some of them do it without, you know, proper due diligence and such, their interest rates go up. And if they're in, and like, lo and behold, you cannot lock in your interest rates when you get a home loan. You can get 6 months, maybe a year, where your interest rate on your home loan stays the same. But if it goes up, they tell you immediately. Because if they don't, that's money that the bank is losing that they could be getting from you by upping your interest rates and telling you, hey, your mandatory repayments have gone up and you need to increase this. Otherwise, the interest rate for failure is going to go up greater, and then we're going to have an even bigger price on defaulting, which means we get even more money from you if you fail. So you've got that half. But does the real estate agent lower your interest rates when the RBA cuts their interest rates? Nope, they don't. They give you a couple weeks. They see what happens in the next month or two. Maybe it doesn't cut again, in which case, why bother? It will probably, you know, go back up again in another month. So unless you are on top of interest rates as a homeowner with a loan, you will be told immediately when interest rates go up. You will not be told when interest rates go down. There is so much of this system that wants suckers. They want people either defaulting on the bills or unable to live. It's just tragic. It is ludicrous. This is where we're at. And here's the thing. We've been at this thing since 2000s. Since the 1990s, we have had a system in place where there was negative gearing applied, and they slashed the tax on capital gains. So we've had a system where if you provided demonstration that you were losing money on an investment property, whether it was old or new, doesn't matter. If you were losing money on an investment property, you would get a tax cut. Coincided with the fact that the actual amount of tax that you owed was reduced because of the capital gains tax cut. You were better off living off of whatever property you owned and leasing it out for rent. And because of the market, you know, being all crazy and such like that, you were okay for having just a slight cut. And you could be of the argument of, oh, you know, I'm setting up this rent for like $650 a week, but there are some people here who are renting for like, you know, $700. I'm taking a bit of a loss on this, $50 a week, which goes up by, you know, a huge amount year on year. So I would like to have, you know, less tax on this thing. You're still getting money. The people are still getting money. It's just whoever is owning the homes isn't paying back much tax. And if they're not paying back as much tax, they're not needing to be responsible for any of the public utilities that they are most likely reliant on for their homes to be useful. Do you want your home to be worth a lot of money? Have it close to the train station. Have good internet. Have a good water pressure. Have good public facilities. Any public good increases the property value around you. But lo and behold, if you become, you know, beholden to paying your due for the public interest, oh Lord, they're coming after our homes. They're coming after your potential homes. Don't let them do that. Fucking fear-mongers. But yeah. So that's where we are. That's where I am. It's tragic. It sucks. It fucking sucks. I'm curious how banks don't realize that the more they raise and give those interest rates, the closer people start to just refuse to banks with them anymore until they compromise or shut down from overreaching on their customers. There's 5 big banks in Australia. The RBA, like the banks themselves, are not setting the interest rates. If the banks wanted to set the interest rates, much like in the United States, it'd probably be a case of, oh, they'd want to give themselves really, really low interest rates to incentivize more and more people to go into cheap loans that they can't properly afford. So then that way, when they get defaulted, they can pull, you know, all kinds of money and such like that. Like, banks want cheap interest rates is what they want. Because, like, if they can keep the interest, like, because if the interest rate goes so low, they can keep their margins high. But if the interest rates go up, their interest rates go up as well, and to maintain the margin, but we're going to be a little bit upset. But our anger is not towards the banks. Our anger is towards the RBA at that point. The fact of the matter is, Jack, is that with, like, Australia does not react violently. Australia is not that kind of a country. That, like, there's just not going to happen. The people that are currently in power are, there's a crazy stat, like, average houses per owner. Hang on a second. Let me open up Opera GX and see if I can find, like, average. So let me find something. Houses per owner. So they got all this stuff for Victoria. Why is it in Victoria? Australia. Browse properties for rent. Rent directly from owner. Oh my goodness. Why? Why again for Melbourne? Stop giving me... You know what? Let's go for DuckDuckGo. Houses per owner in Australia. Housing data. Here we go. All right, so the median, oh my god, this looks fucking terrible. This is the median price. This isn't the average. This is the median. This is like the most common prices. Fucking crazy. Like Canberra, at the end of the year, the average was like 1,000. Like, none of these places are less than $500,000, and that's their average. Let's see, where is property sales by venue, building activity, value of work commenced. That does not right. Changes in rentals. Oh my goodness, they all dropped like just in 2021. I wonder what the fuck happened in 2020 that made people be like, oh hey, you know, no one needs rentals. Ah, this fucker. Hang on. Look at this. Sorry, let me just go to like 2019 Q1. Like, look at this. We had more dwellings. Like, this motherfucker. We had a huge number of dwellings being constructed in like 2021 second quarter. And then because they realized, oh no, there's going to be more supply than we expected, which might actually made up with demand, they then grinded that shit to a halt. But was there an increase in the number of dwelling units completed when they grinded that shit to a halt? No, there wasn't. It just stayed the fucking... Oh my god, this site. Just show me the full thing. I don't need a blurb here explaining to me that, you know, some numbers go up and others go down. Approximately 60%, 66% of Australian homeowners own their home, marking a gradual decline over past decades. 36% of Australians aged 25 to 29 own a home. The rate is 50% for those that are 30 to 34, highlighting affordability challenges for younger generations. Nearly half of Australian homeowners report struggling to meet mortgage repayments as of November 2024. Oh my god, look at this. Median rent, $650 a week. 33% of salary. Like, there is no way. $650 a week is not 33% of my salary. Like, hang on a second. So, let me get a calculator real quick. So, so wait, hang on. Where's my, here it is, 650. So 33.27. 657 divided by 0.33. Wait, hang on. No, not 0.33. 33, so 3327. So yeah, 650 divided by 0.337. $1,928. So $1,928 a week take home pay. Pay calculator. All right. What was the so that was your weekly. So that was your weekly, like, take-home pay? Hang on a second. Nope, that's not right. So I'm trying to get to 1,928. Yeah, 1,928. So all right, so in order to get a pay of $1,928 a week, you have to be earning nearly $4,000 a fortnight. I'm not earning $4,000 a fortnight, which means that you need to get a monthly income of $8,000, which means you need to be getting paid over $100,000. Also, this is all after taxes, which means that if you wanted to get an actual salary, you would need to be paid by someone $133,000 a year in order to get the average Brisbane apartment. I'm sorry, but that don't sound right. And that's for the average house. The average apartment isn't that much cheaper either. Yeah, not in Brisbane you won't. Hi there. Glad to see you're still here, Valk. I'm curious. I barely earn that a fortnight, let alone a week. I think I'm very lucky to be renting from family. Yeah, very much so. And that's the thing, is that, like, I don't understand how Australia, like, you know, a landfill of immigrants and shit like that doesn't come to the realization that if you are setting up your country so that, you know, any prospective home buyers are needing to rely on, you know, mom and dad in order to, you know, have a place to live and what have you. Not mom and dad to help you buy a place, but rely on mom and dad to have a place to live or a place to rent. There's going to, and what's more is Australia culturally is not a country that has people thinking, yeah, you live with your parents until you move out and marry someone. Hi there, Ruby Sapphire. It's been a long while. we're complaining about the housing market because I've been having troubles and a half in moving out into a new place, and then lo and behold, I am now dealing with, trying to get my bond back from the old place, and there's going to be some problems with that. Thank you for the shout out. Not to worry, not to worry. You mentioned you were like you were a streamer at some point in the past and such, so you were added to the list. But yeah, like, the road to first-time homebuyers has become increasingly challenging. September 2024, the number of first home buyers loans fell by 3.2% from the previous month, totaling 9,686 loans. This reduction highlights the impact of housing affordability issues and high property prices, which makes it difficult for many Australians to enter the market. The median house price in Australia has reached $831,000, reflecting a 3.3% annual increase. Rising property values, while beneficial for existing homeowners, present significant barriers for prospective homebuyers. Yep. Look at fucking New South Wales. Their median has been over $1 million all throughout 2024. You're ridiculous. When all of the previous generations pass on, you'll have like 3 properties that I'll own. That's if they pass on, and that's if they decide to hold on to the property. If you do hold on to that property, though, please have Ho Chi Minh or, Karl Marx or any, like, just listen to the socialist in you. Release the homes. Release the land. Get it turned into high-density homes. Take the loss and make it so that a grand number of people can live in this place, and decide that you will be the one who will not continue on the trend of gentrification. Purposely lower down the median household in that suburb. 2 are family properties. The 3rd one is I'm currently living in, all of which have been willed to me. Fuck yeah. I'm in a will, actually. My grandfather has, like, during 2024, which was some real heavy shit, I learned that my grandfather has organized his will. And while he has 2 daughters that are going to get a big chunk of, like, his, value and what have you, turns out, me and my sis, we also get a chunk. And it's a pretty hefty chunk. So it's kind of incredible. It's kind of crazy, though, to be sitting in a conversation when my grandfather, fit as a fiddle, who, quite frankly, my grandfather, I feel like is fitter than me. Granted, he's had some heart problems and such, and he's had heart surgery, but he exercises. He does hiking. He does all the healthy living and the healthy eating and such like that. Meanwhile, I've been on diet shakes on and off again for the last year plus, and I still get hit with the temptation of the 40 McNuggets from McDonald's. So yeah, I would not be surprised if my grandfather somehow outlived me from some twist of fate. But yeah, that's probably how I get... That's probably how I will, That's probably how I'll break into the housing market in Australia, is my grandfather from the United States will die, and then his home in the United States will be sold, and whatever was made from the United States then gets transferred to my mom, to my aunt, to me, and to my sister. That's probably what's going to happen. It's kind of crazy. But I don't know when, I don't want to think about it. Home ownership across age groups. Oh my god, the chart's been going... So the chart went up really fucking fast for people born in 1987 to 1991. There's me between 1992 and 1996. Less than 40% of us. There we go. Multiple property ownership is also a notable feature in Australia's real estate. 21% of households owning at least one other property beyond their primary residence. Investments in property remain a popular... Alright, hang on a second. So... Do they ever give us a number of... 66% of Australian households own their home. That doesn't tell... How many Australians are there? All right, so 27.2 million. What percentage of Australians own or have a home loan? Not interested in AI. 35% of households. How many? Okay. How many houses in Australia? 10.9 million dwellings. This total stock includes roughly 70% separate houses, with the remaining 30% consisting of apartments and townhouses. Okay. All right, hang on. Now comes the fun thing where I just start getting some notepad nonsense, and I do the silly needful of, like, you know, how many Australians were there? Like 28 million Australians? And how many homes did we have? 10.8? Which means that, you know, assuming no one is home. I hate those AI summaries. Give me real facts and links. Fine. All right. Ding. And then let's go back one page. Wait. Where's that? How many homes are it? We go back a step. We go back a step. We go to population over here. Also, there's chats going off in the worldwide news for our family, which is kind of crazy. What is going on? Oh, it's just mom talking about lemurs. That's kind of crazy that, like, my mom can do that. 27.2 million Aussies. Ah, okay. So, 27.2. Or actually, it says 27.8 right there. If you swear in the chat, the AI thing sometimes goes away. Gosh, the temptation. And then home ownership. So there were roughly 9.8 million household. That's in 2021. Like, come on. Fine, fuck it. We're running off of like old nonsense. So 9.8 million 9.8 million houses or homes. And 60 were homeowners. So 67% were homeowners. So they were saying 6.2 million. That's the last census. We'll get an update this year on that number. It's a census year. Ooh, it's a census year. Lol, the amount of percentage of homes where the homeowners without a mortgage has been going down. That's not good. Meanwhile, that's been staying relatively the same. From private landlord. That's depressing. But yeah. Housing, chat. It's everyone's problem. Oh yeah, this is my Pokemon team. From a previous just chatting session, this is my Pokemon team. It's pretty good. I quite like it. What other tabs? Excuse me. Oh my gosh. But yeah. Yay, Arcanine. Arcanine's great. I think Arcanine would be such a cool doggo in the real world. And then I was told that was too big. I found that if we start in the show, oh yeah, Velk has already mentioned that. But yeah, the where's my the Fennekin line? The what line? The what? All right, let me open up. Fennekin. Oh, from Tiny Fox to hang on. You're talking about the the Fox starter Pokemon from what was that one from? That was Fox Mage. Yeah, Fox Mage. Generation 6. So that was oh wait. I love how I look at Generation 6 and it shows me Alpha Sapphire. Here we go. Partner of the Kalos. Pokemon X and Y. There we go. Awesome. Master Sex right there. So yeah. So yeah, I live, this is like frankly chat, like these are tough times I'm living in. One of the few gems I didn't go immediately to the fire starter. Ooh, interesting. You just need a game with Pokemon, but they don't battle. They're just like pets, like in Nintendo Dogs. Well, didn't Pokemon do a Animal Crossing-esque game? Give me a second. I'm pretty sure they've done a new game. What's Picross? It's not Ranger. It's not the Rumble. There's Pokemon Snap. What's Trozy? Oh, it's the puzzle game. Oh my goodness, they made a typing adventure? That's cool. Oh my gosh, it was released in Australia too. Pokemon Art Academy, that's cool. So that was on the 3DS. Ah, okay, okay. Hey, I remember Pokemon Go. Cafe Mix. Oh, I think this is it. I think I found it. Pokemon Pocopedia is a spin-off game that take control of Ditto, who transforms to look like a human, explores the world while collecting materials, building structures, and learning moves from befriending Pokemon. There we go. Smeargaroo. God, I love the look of Moss Slacks. That's kind of cool. Released exclusively for Switch 2 via game key card for the physical. Since Pokemon Conquest.
Double rations. Great.
Hi, Blue.
Oh, hello.
How goes it?
How much can you put into a phrase? That's a good question.
50 words or less.
All right, I hate the new hires.
That's a real shame, considering we're trying to get a new hire over at our place.
Oh my god, they have no idea what they're doing because it's trainees training trainees.
Oh, you're having a very fun time, aren't you?
Ah, a lot of fun.
I'm just looking at whatever kind of Pokemon stuff because if I don't look at Pokemon and give myself the dopamine hit, chat, I hate to break it to you, but I'm going to be reminded of just how financially broke I am and how depressed I am, and that I am going to probably shill out for more subs or someone to go over to my throne or to my coffee and help support me as I live paycheck to paycheck, or possibly deal with the repercussions of I might not get my bond back because real estate agents are stingy as fuck.
Why exactly are you looking at Pokemon?
We were randomly on the team for Pokemon, and then there was like talks in the game, in like the chat about Pokemon, and then Vulpecula was something about like they wanted a game with Pokemon, but they don't battle; they're just like pets, like in Nintendogs. And then you know we came to the thingamajig of it's probably Pokemon Pokopia, and then yeah, we were opening new tabs. Have you done this? The setting up your team. You got a favorite, Blue?
I actually have my team in mind. I had it for a long time.
Do you now? Chat, if you're not aware, Blue Foxy Nicey Icy, this man here tortures himself by playing old Nintendo games or Nintendo games in general. And this makes him an expert on Zelda, Mario, Pokemon, Pikmin, Star Fox, and any other characters that you would find in Smash Bros. By extension.
Yeah, that.
To be fair, Zelda is the same game over and over and over again for 3 decades now. Oof. Fighting words from Velk over on Linux land over here.
Well, here's the thing, though. It depends on what you're going by in terms of Zelda, right?
Oh yeah, Professor Layton. That's ones you've actually been going through a lot. Professor Layton.
Listen, I'm the only one that's been going through Professor Layton. No one is more of a gentleman than me.
He says, without, you know, gentlemanly attire. I'm surprised you haven't had Jack or Izzy draw you in Professor Layton attire. Have you just been
I don't have the money.
Oh, okay. I thought you bullied them enough, and then they're just like, we're just gonna keep drawing you as fruits.
Well, Jack still needs to draw me as Cupsy Yummy, if you know what that is.
A cupcake?
Show chat what Cupsy Yummy is.
Cupsy Yummy. Oh, from Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh, that's cute. If you control one Link monster on a level 2 Synchro monster, you can special summon this card, parentheses, from your hand. You can only special summon Cupsy Yummy once per turn this way. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one Yummy card from your deck to your... What the fuck is this? What universes beyond bullshit is this?
Basically, it's what we call a starter. You can special summon itself, so you don't use your normal summon. 2, it can search for any Yummy card except itself.
Or, if this card was special summoned by the effect of a Synchro monster, you can draw one card instead. You can only use this effect of Cupsy Yummy once per turn.
So, that last part is basically a hard once per turn. It's to avoid spamming things.
Lo and behold, I feel like that has not stopped people from trying to spam Cupsy.
You can try to spam Cupsy, but Cupsy's effect will only work once per turn. No matter what. Also,
$65?
Yeah, because this deck is... freaking the Yummy deck is actually in the top meta.
At least it's in English.
Freaking...
Also, are these stickers? Like, they look like stickers on top of the card.
Nah, they're not stickers. I got a feeling it's in a sleeve, but
Oh, actually,
those.
that's right. I should probably check that thing, Jack. Hang on a sec. Let me double check my throne real quick.
Like, here's the thing: freaking Cupsy Yummy and the rest of the Yummy monsters are all Crane Game prizes. Because remember, archetypes follow a theme here. They're all Crane Game prizes. Yummy Snatchy is the core that picks up these things.
Yep, my postal address has been updated to the new residency. Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't real, says Velk. What do you mean you're welcome? What? Last I remember, IC playing the most recent version of Layton even tried to help him with a couple puzzles. You needed help? You're like the puzzle expert.
Remember, freaking I let chat join in on the puzzle solving because some puzzles I can instantly get done straight away, and then there's other puzzles I'm like, huh?
Actually, I am great at puzzles. Alrighty then, Blue. If you're so great at puzzles, show me your moves and words on stream. We're currently at level 5.
What do you mean? That's your problem, not mine.
Look, Velk right now is number 1. They've got 57 stars. Witch Dragon Queen, he's level 2 with 50 stars. Ours, Crafty Grads, is coming 3rd. I'm right behind them. Where's Blue? Nowhere. You've never played the anti-dyslexia game.
Do you want me to ruin everyone's brain right now?
Oh, how I would love to hear this. Go on.
Should we bring back the shoe store thief puzzle?
You say that as if that was like a real, stick bug bazinga in our Year of the Lord 2026, but I have no idea what you're talking about. We're filled with himbos and bimbos in this chat.
Look, Jack knows. This puzzle is the only Professor Layton puzzle that has a game FAQ page where it goes on for so long because people don't even know what the correct answer is. It is the only puzzle where everyone actually has problems with it.
Wait, what's this? The shoe store thief?
Yeah, the shoe store thief or the shoe shop thief in the UK version. That puzzle actually sucks.
A woman in a shoe store pays for a $30 pair of shoes with a $50 bill. The clerk doesn't have change, so he goes to the shop next door to break the $50 bill. He then gives the woman her change. A little while later, the clerk next door comes into the shoe shop complaining that the bill she got from the shoe clerk was a counterfeit. The mortified shoe clerk gives the other shopkeeper a $50 bill of his own in apology. Both the women with the fake bill and the shoes she took are gone. In total, how much did the shoe clerk lose in dollars? Okay, so hang on. So he broke a 50. So he was not involved with the $50 thingamadiggy. So he got $30 from the shoe person and pocketed the 20. And then he had to pay back the shop owner the 50. So I say, hang on. So how much did the shoe lose in dollars?
Okay, so here's the thing.
I would say
US...
he lost $30.
So here's the thing, though. The US version of the puzzle and the UK version differ by wording. So the denominations for the currency is still like just think of them as 1-to-1 for this purpose.
Yeah.
But the question at the end is for the US version. In total, how much did the shop store clerk lose in dollars? The UK version says, in total, how much did the shoe shop lose?
Yep, okay. I'm going to stick to my $20.
So, my opinion is that we also got to include the cost of the shoes.
No, you don't, because like
'Cause
like. All right, here comes. Do you know the answer to this? Don't you?
I know the answer to this, and I think it's completely bullshit.
Okay, because I'm saying $20, and the reason I'm saying $20 is because he was not because if we're going with the order of operation, there what like a $50 counterfeit he wasn't responsible for goes to a shopkeeper so that it could be broken up. So he was able to get a 30. Oh wait, no, hang on. The $20 went back to the lady, I think.
Okay, so
Shut up.
$50.
Hang on. Shut up. I will think this through. I will not be proven wrong, all right? Give me a minute, all right? So, I can do this. So the $50 the $50 he has 0. He hasn't gained or lost anything. He goes to a shopkeeper to split the 50 for the girl. The girl, with the split 50, gives him $30. So now he's plus $30. But because of the shopkeeper, because of the other shopkeeper saying, "Hey, that $50 is counterfeit," so now the shoe shop clerk goes, "My bad, let me give you $50." So that means he lost because he made $30. So then he has to lose that $30 and then give an additional 20 back to reimburse the shopkeeper. Unless you're about to tell me that, all that nonsense doesn't matter and he just lost $50 and that's it.
Okay, so remember, he got $50 as a fake, but he didn't know at the time. He had to go over to get it broken into, change. He then gave the change to the thief, $20, right? And then he had to give back $50 to the other shopkeep because the other shopkeep found out it was fake.
Oh my god, you're not gonna tell me that it's $70.
And then you also got to take into account like the shoes themselves. Because the thing is, the way the US and the UK version of the puzzle is worded, one talks about money value, the other one talks about total value. This is where people get stumped on.
All right, so in the US, you're gonna sound like you're gonna be info dumping me.
Yeah, but to keep it simple, right? The UK version of the puzzle, the hints don't help at all, but the US version of the hints make it much more sense. They actually give you the proper hint.
The shoes the customer made off with cost $30, and the change the shoe clerk gave her cost him $20, bringing the shoe clerk's total loss to $50. The shoe clerk received $50 in real money when he swapped the fake bill for change, but had to return his same $50 when the clerk... This means these two transactions effectively cancel each other out. Cool.
The reason why people have issues with this is because the puzzle itself is worded in such a way that no matter how you come to the conclusion, people would still think it's either going to be $70 or $100. Even I came to that conclusion with chat. I did not use hint coins for this, by the way. I did not use hint coins.
I can kind of see where they got that logic where, very simply it's like because he... So yeah, so my first answer was 20, my second answer was 50, and then my third answer was 70. Because he had to but then they made the point of because of the exchanging of get a 50, you give a 50, lose a 50 or what have you. So.
Yeah. So, in the end, the explanation is the 50 he gave the clerk evens out the 50 the clerk gave him.
Yeah.
which is kind of weird because, there's a counterfeit bill, all right? That's the key piece of information that is given to you. The clerk loses money from giving $20 in change and also loses $30 value worth in the shoes.
I love how Jack said they lose $100.
Yeah, like, do you understand why people think it's 100?
Kind of, but
Yeah.
this is one of those puzzles where, like, it's a silly math one where, like, unfortunately, every logic like, if you deal with enough D&D campaigns, and quite frankly, it's just going to be one of those fun things where any puzzle is all about wording. And if you think that it's just easy to convert a children's puzzle into a fantasy puzzle, you are dead wrong.
Like, the easiest way for me to explain this is that the counterfeit bill represents nothing, okay? Represents a gain or a loss of nothing.
Yeah. So he gave up the $30 shoes, and he gave her a $20 note as if she paid it. So losing $50 there. Yeah.
Yeah. So the woman loses nothing, but gains $50 from the shopkeeper. The clerk next door loses 50, but then gains the 50 back. So that cancels each other out, and the shopkeeper had to lose $50 regardless. So no matter what, in the end, the thief gets $50 worth of value. The clerk doesn't lose anything, and the shoe shopkeeper loses $50.
Cool.
This is the stupidest puzzle in my opinion, just because of the way it's worded.
I can imagine that there will just definitely be something dumber, because it's going to be one of those, rather than numbers thing, it's just going to be like, children's logic. But
this puzzle, like, I actually solved this puzzle on stream because I was like, wait a minute. Okay, I already tried two numbers. I tried 100, I tried 70. What happens if we just randomly... I actually hated doing this. I actually brute forced the puzzle.
wow, you gave me so much shit for when I brute forced the lock back in Alan Wake 2, because I got like 2 of the 3 numbers, and I was just like, all right, let me just start, checking.
Yeah, but I actually went through all the logic. I'm like, even chat agreed with me on this one. We were just like, this makes no sense.
Yeah, Pokemon TV.
But don't worry, every other Professor Layton puzzle is fair game. Perfectly fine. It's only that particular puzzle I find completely bullshit.
Other games featuring Pokemon include Harmo Knight, Bridge Badge, the Anime Channel, Playground Pokemon Detective Pikachu, and Cluster. But yeah.
Does this sound
Already I am just like slowly forgetting like the anger for the puzzle and what have you, and just moving on. Oh, and Grant, what's up, Jack? You are correct. I did get the puzzle wrong, but I will be real with you. It was one of the, like, I should have known, given Professor Layton, where it's like, oh, it's just written right there, $50. Like, they said it 3 times. You're welcome. Ah. Oh, you said you're welcome because of the Professor Layton thing, or? Wasn't too sure where the "you're welcome" was, because I thought you were doing like some sort of thing on Throne, but then nothing happened, and then I don't know. Brain was doing some stuff.
Ah, yes, your brain was doing things.
Yeah, no, it was, because like tomorrow morning, gotta wake up, gotta go back to the old place, and hopefully the bond cleaners will arrive by like, I don't know, hopefully 8 or 9. Oh, damn! What the? Oh shit, that's like more than one thing getting. Thank you! I'm guessing the anonymous user is Jack Raiden, gifting me the large Lego skeleton ceramic mug and a wireless charging station for my phone, watch, and AirPods. I really appreciate.
Dang.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. That is actually really thoughtful. I'm looking forward to that Lego mug. It was such a silly thing, and I was like, I don't have a lot of silly things in my throne, because way too many things are like, a little too expensive, or like, I don't know. So I started adding like a few more. Like I saw that Lego thing, and I was like, you know what? It's a silly thing. I'm gonna add it. So thank you. I really appreciate it. If there's any issues with payment or something like that, it will give me a little notification, and I can either put it into the Throne wallet, or what have you. So, yeah. But yeah. God, financial constraints are going to be very fun. I was really hoping like there wouldn't be any bond issues, but there is going to be bond issues.
Don't worry, I'm currently in the situation of a lot of things are coming my way. I already paid like 5 things already. I got another thing coming up soon, my private health insurance.
Ooh,
and then
that's right.
And then I got my car service.
You said it in such a weird way. Car service.
Luckily, after the
car.
Yes, I drive manual, by the way. So I got the car service coming up, and then after that, my car insurance then kicks in.
There we go. Dang.
Oh, yeah, I should really give them a follow.
Probably because I'm not signed in or some shit. But yeah, thank you so much, Jack. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I don't have that many things on my wish list anymore. It's just good pairs of socks, a random measuring tape, some Warhammer books, Pepsi Max, and then a really expensive Substance Painter license.
Mate, you know what? If we go to the Legoland that's near Dream World, I'll buy you a cup of just Lego bones. It's just filled with Lego bones from the fill this cup as much as you want with random assorted Lego pieces, but it's all Lego bones.
Could be good.
Freaking witch dragon queen getting wisdom teeth removed. You want to know what I did for that? I got all 4 of them removed in one surgery while I was awake.
Oof. What the fuck?
I had to save money somewhere because it was either go onto the public wait list and get a student to do it to me. And I'm like, no. And the other 2 options were go to a private dental surgeon. One was to get knocked out and be put into a hospital bed. That would cost me a lot more money. And then there's the option I picked, which was be awake for it and then be able to leave the same day.
Radio.
But that look when you go into a chemist warehouse with something in your mouth to keep the bleeding from getting out of control and handing them a prescription. Yeah, can I get your strongest painkillers, please? Because this is going to only last for an hour. They just looked at me like, okay.
They saw the cotton balls in your mouth and they were just like, well, you're in a pharmacy, so you're not looking to do a Marlon Brando impression. You're wanting drugs.
Yeah, I'll be wanting drugs, and I'll tell you what, after the anesthetic wore off, I was in pain.
They use boxes now instead of cups. Interesting. Getting the 2 problem children out will only be approximately $1,400, around $800 after health insurance. If I get all 4 out, it's about $3,500. Oh.
That's a lot more than what I paid.
Hmm.
By
Well,
more than double.
you're lucky. You're in like fucking. When did you get them removed? Were you
I
in
was
like, you
still in
know,
Melbourne at the time, so
you're in
here's the thing.
Victoria. This is a
So,
Victorian over here. Hang on, where's my hands?
so
There we go.
I think
Victorian.
I think total surgery was 1,800, but my private health took away 500.
Hmm.
So 1,300 roughly for the rest of it was actually pretty good for 4 teeth,
Radio.
and they all had to be removed.
And I just realized that did I password stuff I don't have it saved, which is a problem. Oh boy. But yeah, so we're all adults having our own problems. Thank goodness I've like granted it always happens every month. I get surprised when I get hit with like a $95 transaction in the middle of the month. I'm like, what the fuck? Where did this random $95 loss come from? Turns out it's from AH&M, my private health insurance.
Yep.
It gets me every month. I honestly legitimately forget that I have private health because the only reason I have it at this point is to avoid getting, you know, the Medicare levy for being over 30 and to try and make it so that I have cheaper dental inspections and any dental appointments going forward.
I pay like, was it 120 something for my private health? But I get extras and the hospital cover. But my extras limits have been increased without any changes to the price.
Really?
Because I've been a member for years.
Oh, okay.
Like, I've been a member since probably when I was born.
Jesus Christ. I have only been a member for like a little while, for like, you know, maybe a couple months, like maybe not even a year. But yeah, like
Yeah.
I just got myself like, 93.25 a month, sorry. I just have the basic ambulance and accident hospital cover, and then it has and choosable 50, and I chose teeth. So, you know, all per person and per family limits reset on the 1st of July 2026. Unused rollover limits from last financial year. So yeah, so in my hospital cover, $750 in hospital excess resets on the 27th of May. So, okay, so I must have gotten it around 27th of May because that's like probably around the time I would have gotten insurance. So then that way I didn't get hit with the levy in the end of financial year. So, and then check waiting periods. So dental. So if I wanted like routine dental stuff, there's no waiting period anymore. If I wanted major dental stuff, I'm still in a waiting period until May 27th. And then for complex, once again, May 27th. So long as I don't break my teeth until May, I'm going to be good. So don't get any wisdom teeth problems until May, basically.
Heads on over to break your teeth.
I could honestly imagine someone like, you know, if it was like someone from the States and such when I'm going to Texas for a fiesta. That's another thing as well. Like, I say I'm like broke as fuck, but it's like there's all this money that's like sitting in my savings that I cannot touch. Like, I legitimately... That's the
same
biggest
thing
worry.
for me.
Yeah. Like, it's
Like,
so
because
crazy being an adult, isn't it?
Because you think about it, guys, you got money that you can use, you got money that is there just in case you need it, and then you got you cannot touch this at all costs.
Health insurance that includes ambulance is weird for Queenslanders. Ours is covered in. I think it's like electrical bill, but I guess it makes it easier when we travel interstate. Yeah. Queensland, I think, is the only one where it's like, you know, the ambulance ride isn't costed. It isn't an excess. I think it is at least. I'd be
Like usually you should be fine with ambulance.
yeah.
Usually.
So. Good sippies. So yeah, where was I in my train of thought? Ding, dong. Ah, okay. So the large skeleton. Let me have a look at the. So now I need to double check about this Lego large skeleton ceramic mug and see if it's still available, because that was the price from the Lego store, and the Lego store does not tell me if the item was sold out or anything like that when I put the thing in. It's still available!
If Twitch can't, oh, what was it? No, if Throne can't get it, they will just tell you, we can't get it for you. Here's the money. And then it goes into your Throne wallet. But whenever that happens with my gifts, I explicitly state to the gifter, this gift is completely unavailable. Is it alright if I put it towards something else instead?
Yep.
It's a form of a clarity. Like, you're at least telling people, hey, I'm not being an asshole. I'm just telling you, oh, this didn't actually get to happen. So instead, here, this is what I'm putting the money towards instead.
Yeah.
If that's okay with yous.
Oh, wait. They changed payout accounts, so now there's Mass Pay, but then there's also Stripe? What?
So, I use Stripe.
And then there's a thing called Throne Payouts. What in the shit? There's more than one way now?
Like, so, when you do the Twitch payout, it goes through Stripe, which will then go to your bank account or whatever.
No, this isn't Stripe. This is Throne.
Yeah, that's how I do mine. So, when I get paid out, they'll ask you how do you want to be paid out, and usually the only option is Stripe, and then I have Stripe linked to my bank account.
Personal checking and a BSB code. Oh, okay. So it looks like there's a different... There might be a different way to do this now, interestingly enough.
Ooh, toxic.
Because normally, like, MassPay does, like, you know, weird conversions and shit like that. I'm really curious about this one, because it's saying payout bank account. It looks like you can do a bank account now? Give me a second. I'm going to see what happens. When did Throne do this? This is so, like, this goes to show how little, like, or how few and far between, like, people do, like, coffee or Thrones to me, is that, you know, such a time has happened. It's like, oh, hey, the website is, like, you know, changed how they'll do, like, monies and things. And I'm like, what? They'll change that? So, yeah, give me a second. Because they just want they just wanted account number and BSB, but, like, bank or credit card to then use these. All data that is collected to it is used for know your customer and security reasons only. Complete the onboarding. You withdraw. Rise within 24 to 48 hours after the date we gave you. It can take 4 to 5 business days to show up on your bank statement, depending on your bank. Uh-huh. So weird.
So basically, how they do it is, Stripe is your middleman
Mm-hmm.
to getting your payout. All right, that's how it works. It's
Yeah.
legit just your middleman. Rather than give it to you directly, right? They go through a more secure channel to give you your money.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm gonna need to tell the bank that I have like a new living address as well. There's so many places that I'm gonna need to update. Oh wait, no, it's already updated here. Interesting. Wait, when did they? Nah, never mind. Oh, I probably did it because back on the other. All right, here we go. So, because it looks like it did Stripe at one point in May, and then it went through mass pay versus Stripe versus Throne payouts. Someone must have done a comparison. 11 months. So wait, this was a thing for the last 11 months?
Yeah.
Jesus. I thought MassPay was like the
That's
only
like
thing for like the last like year plus.
Okay, let's.
Did something happen? No, I'm just so because it's currently so with the two gifts you've given me, Jack, it's currently processing the the phone charger one because that one I was able to link to the Amazon. So Throne is managing that purchase. The Lego large skeleton ceramic mug that was set as a payout because Throne isn't able to, do the processing and the payment through the Lego, store website. So the way a payout works is that it goes into like my Throne balance or what have you. I'm able to get that withdrawn into a bank account and then use that bank account to, make the purchase and what have you. So it's how people were able to do. So like you'll see it on some people's Thrones where they'll have like a payout option where like a gift idea could be paying someone's rent or something like that.
There's also the alternative that you can use your Throne balance
On
to fund other items. As well as you could also use your Throne balance to fund other people's gifts.
Yeah, there's that. So, but yeah, I'm just looking at like how they've got like these 3 different like methods, like so MassPay, Stripe. Interesting. But yeah, like I'm just reading, like I'm just so distracted. I am so sorry. Because I'm like looking at this thing and I'm like, I'm wanting them to try and tell me like, what is the difference between the 3? Are there fees? Covers the fees for when you withdraw from your Throne to your bank account. Creators do not have to pay any fees. And then Throne balance. Then there's like redeeming. If you The value, including shipping, will be added to your throne balance. You can then purchase these items yourself after you withdraw your balance. So yeah, and then you go to withdraw balance. So yeah, because it doesn't mention the 3 different, like, withdrawals and such, so, like, a part of me feels like... Can redeem or withdraw... Fees can... Fans can pay a small fee to withdraw. This fast tracks a same day, but you can withdraw 43 instantly. I'm gonna see what happens when I expedite this. Initiate a balance withdrawal. Alright, so it's scheduled. Alright.
It's not instant, by the way.
No, I know it's not instant. It's just... God, this is a little nerve-wracking. Like, now doing the, Now doing the thing, doing the, doing the throne payout. So instead of it going into mass pay to go into like some weird holding to then go into my bank account, it's going straight into my bank account. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. You can summon a pistol into being, but why not summon a keyblade or a sword in the same way for the VTuber? I did a lightsaber actually, Jack, for I did a lightsaber during Star Wars. So when I was playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, I think it was, I had like a really crummy looking Jedi robe on, and I like when I did the gun emote, instead of a gun coming into my hand like you would see here, it would instead be a blah 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 blah. It would instead be a lightsaber, and there would be a cool noise. It would do a bzoom thing. It was great. So yeah. It's fun, isn't it? So yeah, that is honestly so cool. Also, did I put things in home improvement? No, I haven't, so I have a whole ton of saved for later. But this is no longer available. God, there's some stuff in this list that I was like, if I was confident about like putting holes into walls, I'd put it back on the list, but because of like the recent hassle I've been having with the last real estate agent about like, you know, holes or repairs and such, I'm very like, you know, I'm very nervous of like going to my current real estate person to be like, hey, can I do this thing or that thing next? Like, I feel like I don't want to touch any of that nonsense for like another week or two. So, you're still dealing with renting, aren't you, Blue? Or have you moved over to...
Yeah. I'm still dealing with renting, but one day I would like to get my own place.
One day you'll get like this commune property out in the sticks because it's really cheap out there with a strong internet connection, and you'll just be living off of the land, aka the internet, and convincing other furries that they too can just live off the land, aka the internet.
Hey, it's still better than, you know, having to pay someone else's mortgage.
Yeah, no, I get you. That's what was almost that was what was going to happen to me at the previous place, and I left that nonsense to go into this one. Hopefully I'm not paying off someone else's mortgage in this place, but if there's news of them like looking to sell this place and they're not looking to do it for like less than $440,000 for it, then I should probably take that as a sign of, okay, cool, if they're selling to someone, I'm going to need to start looking for a new place to live because they're going to up the rent when that happens.
Yep.
It is what it is. But yeah. Oh gosh. So what do you got going on the weekend? Because my weekend is going to be filled in with you know, trying to do more like sort of rental fix-ups in the old place with the help of my mom and her boyfriend. Anxiously waiting for news from the real estate agent on that day as well. Unpacking in this current place and trying not to annoy the current real estate agents until I get my bond back. Like, I'm in this weird holding pattern where I'm just waiting for everyone else to react before I go resume living.
Well, my current thing is I'm actually attending a co-worker's farewell party.
Oh, okay. Was this a good coworker or was this a friendly coworker?
A good co-worker.
Okay, okay. I'm just gonna give you another shot.
Pretty much, if it wasn't
I
for
can't
him,
do it for
I'll
another
probably
60
be in
minutes.
a really bad spot at work.
Ah, okay, okay. Been looking out for Uminoro Duos. You and themselves.
Yep.
He groans. Oh, I have to go to someone's farewell party. I've been at this job for like
Hey, it
9
means that they're
years.
free from this place.
So I've been doing the same
You
job
should be
for
having
9
long
years.
service.
I will have long service next year. So once I get into April, I think it will be the 9-year mark. So next year, when we hit the 10-year mark, I'll get long service leave. But yeah, like I've been at this current job for the longest time. Like this is quite honestly like the longest I've been in one job. It would have been nice to be in the same place, like living wise, for that amount of time as well. But you know, we can't have everything. But lo and behold, I've been at this job now for close to 9 years. I have seen so many people come and go at this point, though, so that anytime there's people leaving the team, I'm like, I used to be devastated by it because I was like, what do you mean you're leaving? We were having such great camaraderie. But at this point, I've now been in this office longer than a lot of other people. So anytime they're leaving, I'm just sort of like, yeah, okay. Sad to see you go, but yeah. This is what happens when you take all the emotions in the first few years, is that you're just drained of it afterwards. Same, also at 9 years, in October. Looking forward to the long service leave. Yeah!
Like, there's also the thing of, like, I've been here long enough, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's one of those cases of, like, you know, like, when you first started, like, in the first year, you're, like, nervous of, like, oh, it's a job, I shouldn't be, like, too attached. And then in the second year and second to fourth year, you're like, this is so much better than a job. I love it here, I can't stop. But then once you get past the 5-year mark, you're back to, it's a job. Like, sure, you make the fun. It's one of those cases of going from, like, you know, from a pessimist to an optimist to a nihilist. It's like you got your cadence, you got your ups, you got your down, and then you plateau out because, you know, it's a job. You'll take the fun. It's like nothing has meaning, which means that every day you take is a blessing, kind of thing. Something along those lines. I don't know. I'm not really great at the cool anecdotal story at this point.
But the whole point is you've been there long enough. You've been there long enough. You either help people along the way, you watch people leave, you know, come and go. You dealt with either good people or shitty people or the weird ones. And you're just like, I'm the senior in charge now.
Yeah, could be.
It's like, it's just a whatever. Do whatever you like.
Whatevs. Could be good. So,
and plus, they know not to mess with someone who's been there for a long time.
Yeah. So I'm almost at that. So we get to April, it'll be up to 9 years. Hopefully, I don't get detained or shot when I'm in Texas in March.
Man, that better not be on 7 News.
I will not pop up on 7 News. That is.
Oh,
you grossly overestimate my worth in the real world, Blue. Jesus.
Here's the thing: anything international that involves an Australian citizen, we will know.
With this accent and my dual citizenship with Australia and the United States and Canada, do you really think that's gonna pop up? I reckon because of this accent, and then they're gonna look through my like internet history, and they're just gonna be like, let's say this guy's American and he was living in Australia, and then they'll just move on. I reckon that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and look at this cunt.
Look at this. Look at this guy. Look at this fool. Fun fact, Chad. I'm just an average white straight boy. Like, I'm one of those like least diverse furries.
The straightest man I've ever seen.
Yes, this is true, Blue. The straightest man you have ever seen. I actually got a little thingamadoogies from hang on a second. Let me find it. This is gonna be some very hang on a second. Unnamed, can't spell because my hands are unnamed 471. God damn you, Jack. Furry review. All right, no, not furry review. Fursona review. Ding dong. So it's not there. All right, so BSKY. All right. You know what? I should probably hide the Opera GX window just in case any not safe for work nonsense pops up in my following.
That's what I do. I legit hide all my tabs.
Give me a second. I'll find it. All right. Nope. I just need to go to my profile, and then I need to go to the media. Because it's not that long ago that here it is. Okay, I found it. I found the tweet, all right? It was done by, so the unnamed Gene did a furry review, like, about, earlier this month, where it's just like, post your persona below, and they'll rate them the Sunday. It can be red, it can be sketch, edge, it can be both. Just let me know the species and have a 1-sentence description. And I was like, I was on a fucking panic, and I just decided to, like, do three fun renders, this Johnny Cage parody thing, and then the one like safe for work like cute art that I have, which is Princess Samoyed having me making a burger, which I really love. And this is what they had to say. You are so painfully straight. You circled back to being gay, then straight, and now you're at a gay club asking when the girl's gonna show up. B tier.
More like you're Homer Simpson in a lesbian bar questioning where's the fire exit.
Wait a minute. There's something I can't quite shake. I know! This lesbian bar has no fire escape! Enjoy your death trap, ladies! What was her problem?
What was her problem?
So yeah. That's not dual citizen, that's triple residency. Okay, that thingamadoogies. But yeah, like, as you see here, I'm just so painfully straight. I circled back to being gay, then straight, and now you're at a club asking when the girl's gonna show up. And when I saw that, I just had to quote retweet me sitting at the gay club with all the mates because I was told it'd be fun by all my friends. Where are the girls at? Just me sitting there. I can totally imagine this. I can totally imagine this being a thing. It's just me sitting there and just being like, where are the girls?
Nah, he's too far away from bi. All right, he's too far away from bi.
Thought you were bi, but the description just made you get circled. Yeah, it's just like straight. No, he's gay because he's totally fine. Because he's like, giving positive comments to the masculine figure and retweets masculine shapes. But he himself is just hyper masculine as a persona, and he is just very kronk himbo, and also just very much loves women, and that's his focus. It's not gay to find the beauty in everything, okay? Quote me. Yeah. How long have I been streaming for? 3 hours. Okay. Considering I didn't have anything planned other than just, you know, trauma dump over people about the struggles of finding places to rent and then the repercussions of having to repair like, you know, holes in the ceiling and walls because you wanted to hang paintings in the previous rental and now they're trying to make you like lose all that like bond because, you know, oh, there's some dust on the fucking stove and shit.
Oh, there's a dead fly on this door frame.
There's spider webs on the balcony. It's just like, what the shit, dude? Like, so yeah, there's there's just a mixture.
But how do you feel about doing a 10-star quest when it comes out?
You're talking about Proof of a Hero, aren't you? You fucker.
Yeah.
You fucker.
We have to do...
The news isn't even cold, and you're already recruiting for fucking hunters to go into the newly 10-star quest. I haven't even, like, done any, like, reliable arch-tempered monsters since fucking Ul'dah. We've done arch-tempered, what's-a-mahoozy,
You're talking about Ray Dow? Freaking, we already done Ray Dow.
We've done Ray. That's it. That's all I've done. I've done arch-tempered Ray Dow, and that's it. I have not done the arch-tempered Uth Duna. I've not done the arch-tempered Squid Boy or the arch-tempered Jindaha.
So you forgot New Udra's name.
Oh, young Jack Raiden isn't able to insert a quote. Why are you not able to insert a quote? Did I restrict? Oh, they've updated their quote system, haven't they? Hang on a second. Let me see if I can... Dunk. User interface. Where are the fuck services? Quotes. Here we go. So it's got... Is it... Have I... Oh, they've changed the thingy-madiggy now, haven't they? Yeah, I need to create a new quote response. Hang on a second, so... Alright, so quote add is for when a quote is added. Which is the old, so core quotes, quote added. So that's, but like, oh, now comes the, now comes the fun bit where, all right, chat, let me open up Opera GX and see how they want me to do streamer bot quote. Quotes. Oh, here we go. Documentation for quotes for, you know, version 1.0 plus. The bill has been removed. This allows for more customization in how quotes are retrieved and displayed. With that, the show quote trigger will also not work anymore. The following example. So create your own quote command to either retrieve a random quote or a specific quote by its index. Create a quote add to add a quote by the input of the thing. To do a quote delete to delete the quote by quote index. An import code is provided at the end of the instructions, which includes a quote, quote add, quote delete command. Additionally, the quote also includes an example of how one can add a quote by directly replying to a message and using the message you replied to as the quote itself, and also the user will be linked to the quote. Okay, that's a lot of words. So we got the quote trigger. Do I already have quote as a trigger? Now comes the fun bit. No, I don't have quote as a trigger, so I'm probably better... I'm better off just get a random quote and send the message, check whether input is thingy-madiggy or not, and then it does... The regular expression is basically checking if the entire value only consists of digits. If true, then we'll continue and try to retrieve the specific quote. If false, you can add another sub-action to send a message that the input is not a number, or you simply leave it empty. You get a specific quote and send the message. Get quote, and then, so trigger command, quotes, get quote, and then there's adding a quote. So you create a collection, you add the thingy, check if the raw input of the command is empty or not. Then you add the quote itself, check if the quote was added successfully, and then there's deleting a quote. Hopefully they have a means of you being able to find a quote that's like, you know, based off Word or something like that instead. All right, copy the import. Paste the import string. All right, so quotes, add, get, and delete. The author is someone named Pumi. Get a random or specific quote, add a quote, and delete quotes for Streamer Bot 1.0. Add a quote via reply, delete a quote, get a quote. Yep, all right. Are you sure you trust the author? Yep. It will be set to disable. Be sure to edit the quote. Okay, cool. Cool. All right, so they're part of the quotes command. All right, so now I got actions. Ding, dong, queue. They're part of the quote queue. And then they're part of the... I don't like the custom quote, so I'm going to put them in quote. All right, so get quote has... Okay, so I used to do a TTS bot nonsense with the get quote. So I'm just going to use their thingamadiggy, which is if... then it grabs the random quote. And then if it isn't empty, then it does a regex. If it gets a number, then... You know, if there is no quote with that ID, and then what's Mahuzi, and then there's deleting quotes, and then there's adding a quote via reply, and then there's adding a quote. All right. Edit. Add a quote. So that's exclamation point quote add. And we'll allow it to subscribers and VIPs. And then the get quote is allowed for everyone. And then the delete quote is allowed for moderators. Group. Is there a way? Seriously, do I have to like enable? All right, now comes the fun bit where I'm going to need to... okay, so when I did the add quote... Okay, I need to do some stuff. Because there's all this code that's getting executed. Copy sub action. So that was to get the quote. Oh no, that's to add a quote. So then... And then we paste the sub action here. All right, hold on. Is this gonna get everything correctly? So it gets quote, gets the quote ID, gets the quote of the game, gets the quote of the title, then it does a random color, then it does the thing. Alrighty, so it looks like it gets that correctly. And then paste sub action. Oh, hang on. That doesn't look right. Also, I don't know if it's going to double up when I do this as well, so hang on a second. I'm just going to disable this. Sorry, I'm fiddling around with a lot of stuff, I'm sorry to say. So it adds a quote based on the raw input. And then when the quote is added, it does all this other nonsense. I should probably... Okay, hang on a second. So All right, Jack, try your last message now. The, you know, quote, exclamation point, like the exclamation point, quote, space, sorry, exclamation point, quote, add as one word. Try that now. Actually, what happens if I do this?
GrantZeebs has added quote number 465, try that now.
Okay, cool, cool. Grabs quote added. And then on the quote add, creates a marker of user. Oh, okay.
Young Jack Raiden has added quote number 466, it's not gay to find the beauty in everything.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right, so I can disable that action. And then so yeah. And then I will disable you. So now if I do quote, if I do just exclamation point, not hashtag number, 466. It's not gay to find the beauty in everything. Young Jack Raiden. Yeah, awesome. Cool, 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 cool. Just because they are potato people doesn't mean they should be... They should sound high. So yeah. I don't know how this one expects of how to add a quote by replying to a text message. No trigger is added by default. Is just an example. Cool. Awesome. But yeah, I need to... Alright, so... So, percentile quote user added quote, and then I do quote ID. There we go. All right, now I just need to go into I need to get rid of my previous quote. So quote delete 465. So quote with the ID 465 was deleted. So that's good. Which means now I just need to go back into my is my quotes? Yeah, my quotes are still working. That's kind of funny. So I can delete that message from quote. Something else. There we go. Delete that quote. There we go. It's not gay to find the beauty in everything. Just chatting today. Nice. Nice, 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 nice. So what's the shirt for? It's just fun. It's just D20s and they're natural D20s. Because that's just a, you know, nat 20. It's just a classic line in D&D nonsense. All right, I can close those tabs now. Ow. I kind of want to call it here now that I, like, because, like, you know, yapping for, like, over 3 hours and what have you. I'm so sorry, Jin, that you got in, like, just as I was kind of just done with streaming. Because, like, yes, normally with, blah, 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 blah. Normally with, like, if I do a stream and such like that, I try and do, like, a 4-hour stream. So I'm, like, you know, up until 10 o'clock. But I just went into this yapping session because I just wanted to, like... I missed streaming, and originally I was like, oh, maybe I'll play some Crash Bandicoot. But then, you know, nonsense was going off in real life in terms of, like, you know, rental situation and what have you. I thought I was done with the rental at the old place and that I would be getting my bond back with no troubles. Turns out, however, they're not done with me, and they have some issues with the state I left it in and would probably want to take it out of my bond. And it's like, no, hang on. We had a bond cleaner that you recommended go through this place, so... Oh, I forgot to ask. How'd you fare when you faced the boss in Metal Gear Solid Delta? Ooh. I think I did all right. It took a few goes, but I was able to figure out their, like, cadence and what have you. I think I died, like, properly 2 or 3 times, I think. I don't know. It's been a while. It has been a hot minute since last I played Metal Gear Solid Delta. I'm one of those people where, like, she field stripped you, didn't she? A few times. Like, she did that with some of the weapons. So at this point, I was, like, you know, just using the tranquilize. Like, I was using the tranquilizer a lot of the time, and I would just do, like, these sneak... Like, because we were in third-person view, and it wasn't, like, third-person overhead, but third-person over the shoulder, it was a lot easier to be able to be like, oh, yeah, stealth it. And then as stealthing it, I would just be like, lean, bang, and then like try and hide again. So I was able to finally figure it out. But anytime she rushed me, I wasn't 100% certain if I was doing the close quarters combat prompts correctly. But then I played Russian roulette with fucking revolver. Turns out he only put the bullet on only one gun. I didn't get that gun, but thankfully he loaded it with a blank. And then there was, like, you know, double crossing left, right, and center throughout this whole ordeal, it turns out. Hi there, Marky. Welcome, welcome. When you press your face in the grand specs and go, these aren't my glasses. Yeah, they're not your glasses. These are my D20s. Wish I'd done the joke field strip when she got disappointed when you used an impractical item in a fight. I was in the middle. I was fighting for my life. And there was a time limit as well, Jack. I don't think I was in the mood to, like, you know, test the limits of Hideo Kojima's coding algorithms and such. So, yeah. You got something nice for the loss to Ocelot, right? Yeah, I got myself a pistol. But that's if I want to play the game again. Sorry, what was that, Blue?
What? I didn't say anything.
Your profile did a little, like, you know, flashing up as if it was saying something and then didn't.
Because I got up.
What did you get up to do?
I'm going through my cards.
Okay. See,
Let me enjoy my cardboard crack.
3 hours. Damn shame the Foxy for fighting the... Don't shame the Foxy for fighting in the mic. No, he wasn't farting. He was just getting up from his chair. But yeah, this is where we're at now, with me just yapping for 3 hours about the problems of finances and then getting distracted with Pokemon and then just having a nice little conversation and like little like fixes here and there. Blue gets distracted and he wants to start, you know, sorting out through his cards and all that kind of nonsense. So yeah. I'm going to take this as a sign that we could probably go and raid. And you know what? You know what? I want to be nice. We're going to raid... I have a couple of political VTubers, but no other financial VTubers. Oh, I'm not a financial VTuber. I am dumb as fuck. I am an absolute idiot. You know what we're going to do, chat, though? I want to do... Because someone posted this on Twitter where it's like, oh, what goal do you have at the end of your Twitch career or something like that? And someone was like, you know, raiding into someone with like no viewers or something like that, or only one viewer. So I've gone into the raid channel and we're just gonna go into this one random, like, they just started like 30 minutes ago. Some Cocodeli. Ellie, they're just apparently yapping about Japanese life while eating a kombini bread, and we'll play Dispatch shortly. So, I'm just going to do a little quick check in the next minute. Let's see. Hopefully they're not being problematic. It says there's one viewer, but there's definitely, like, more than one person, like, in the chat. Like, what's going on with that? 2, 3, 4, 6. So it doesn't... It's not a legitimate one person. What in the world? And then... Oh, wait. There's a furry. Hang on a second. Alright, chat. We're going into a furry that's playing Mugenics instead. We're gonna go in... There's a there's a furry. Yeah. Mike's Mike's Ed 001. We're just going into a random furry channel. Looks like they're fresh-faced and what have you. So yeah, we're gonna give him a surprise because there's like only like 3 people watching them, and there's like 4 people in like the users lists in total. And the only other like moderators are like StreamerBot and Siri. So best behaviors when we go over there, okay? If you are subscribed, we're gonna go with Himbo Rage. Show us your cutest guys, gals, and non-binary pals, or prepare to get swole. If you are not subscribed, that's okay. You're welcome to use whatever other kinds of emotes that you want. I'm gonna be using mine, but here's an example of the message to have when you want to, use your own emotes. And otherwise, I don't know the next time I'm going to stream, honestly, just because of like the mixed of stresses that I'm going to be going through on this weekend and what my situation is going to be like with unpacking at this place and the bond at the old place. Like, I don't know what my situation is going to be. So it's going to be another week of like almost radio silence and what have you, but I will try and keep you all up to date. Blue, thank you so much for keeping me company. I greatly appreciate it. The timer is going down. I'm so sorry I didn't shout you out sooner, but we'll see you all next time. Bye!